everybody, welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Johananon, the board game guru and game master extraordinaire.
I'm a retired child crimes and human trafficking detective turned tabletop titan and improv comedian, Casualty CDG. But you can call me Gary.
I have been dubbed the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and for the first time on Fresh Out the Podcast, we have a special guest. So it's a two-way, right? Because it's a first-time guest. It's his first time as a guest on the show, but this is also the first time that we've had a guest. So it's like a double first time there.
I was having a lot of fun writing the notes for how we had a first-time guest, and I stared at the notes and was like, I thought the same thing as you. He's like, it's a first-time guest, right?
I didn't know I was going to be the actual first guest. I thought you guys had some other guys on before now.
Okay. Did we give you permission to talk? I haven't even said your name yet. I haven't finished your introduction because Gary interrupted me. But okay, fine. You're fine. You can. Okay.
Man, I thought I was supposed to be the mean one. What's happening? Do you need a back rub?
We have Nico Rodriguez here, who is a local Houston area independent comic book artist, writer, creator. Nico, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I've been doing indie comics for about 4 or 5 years now. Basically do a whole bunch of stuff. I write scripts, I do art, I do cover art, I do coloring, I do lettering. But I've got one book coming out with a publisher called Action Lab, and a whole bunch of other independent stuff that I just kind of do in my own time whenever I can. Unfortunately, it's not a full-time thing yet, so I've got to balance. But yeah, it's fun, man. I love it. So
that's awesome. I have actually a lot of questions that I want to ask you. I think we all have a lot of questions we want to ask you about all of that. But first, I have a really important question, and it's about shoes. And this isn't just for you. This is for everybody.
I'm sorry. The question is about
shoes.
Shoes. So shoes,
Zapatos?
like that you wear on your feet.
Okay.
So, I'm just curious how other people decide, like when you're like, hey, I need a new pair of shoes, and you go get a new pair of shoes, right? Like, do you have a brand preference? Like, do you look at Nike specifically, or do you look at Nike and Adidas and Reebok, or do you look only at one brand because you're like, nah, this is my type of shoe, this is what I go for? Or are you just kind of open-minded looking for everything when you go shop for new shoes? Like, do you have like, what's your process?
I
say you being any of you.
wear Crocs.
There's no way that's true.
Yeah.
It might be. I mean, is it true? Or are you
Yeah, I wear Croc. I have Croc sandals. And they make other shoes too, and they're quality.
Actually, my wife would go to bat for the Croc sandals. She has some, and she says they're super, super comfortable.
Super comfy. Yeah, I have the sandals, and then they also make slip-ons that aren't the rubber all around. So.
Yeah, that's like what she has. They're like slips, but they're Croc branded.
Yeah, they're like nurse shoes almost.
For years I only bought skate shoes. I bought big, comfortable shoes that were like strapping pillows to your feet. And now in my old age, I got shit from my roommate recently because I've already given up tying shoes. Fuck all that. So I have some slip-on shoes that I will go to bat for. There's some slip-on Skechers. They are comfortable as hell, and I'm gonna keep on getting some slip-on shoes unless I'm like going hiking or running. But I don't find myself in a foot race near often enough to need to tie shoes every time I'm trying to go outside.
Yeah, that's pretty. I think for me, so I have Nikes for the majority of the part, but usually I'm going to like the Nike outlet store to like go look on like the clearance racks in the back. And I can usually find something pretty decently comfortable at a decent price. So that's probably my go-to. Other than that, but honestly, I don't buy shoes very often. So
I don't either. I'm not a shoe head, a sneaker head.
None of us are sneaker heads. Yeah.
I actually mostly shop for New Balance, and that's not just because I'm a father now, as TikTok would have you believe. If you're, any of those kinds of memes of like, you know, once you become a dad, you have to start wearing New Balance shoes. That's like
My
a
my
meme joke.
dad wore New Balance shoes.
Well, I've been ever since I was young. Like I've always been kind of flat-footed, so I always had to have like I had orthotics for a long time because of it, and so now as I'm older, like doctor's orders actually are like New Balance are the shoes to wear. That they're the most structurally sound, have the best arch support, and all that kind of stuff. So they're super super comfortable. And I will give New Balance credit because they do have some of their old school style shoes that are just solid colors, but they actually have some really nice designs for some of their newer sneakers now. So that's what I go
Nice.
for. They're comfortable. But
We
I
don't.
like Nike shoes though. Like I think there are so many pairs of Nike shoes that just look super cool. But I'm
Yeah.
just I actually living in Houston and with the heat here, 99% of the time that I go out, I wear flip flops anyways. But if I do wear sneakers, I have New Balance
See, I like
shoes.
Converse, but I have wide feet, and they don't really make wide Converse, so I just rip them in half like after a couple weeks.
You like Chuck Taylor Converse?
Yeah, like Chuck Taylor Converse.
Those are horrible. That's a hard rubber sole and a canvas shoe. That's like the worst.
I have a hard rubber sole, so
Did you guys did any of you ever used to have the Heelys back in the day?
I was not so fortunate.
Remember those?
I do
Man,
remember this.
I looked down at Jahan because I figured if anyone was going to have Heelys, it would have been him. No, I was always a heavy boy, and if I would have had Heelys, I would have busted the back of my head open.
Yeah.
I thought they were neat back in the day, but I never owned them
And I
myself.
think
I
they
I
had
asked for
other.
them
Yeah,
for
they had
Christmas
some
one year.
other shoes called like soaps or something that had little like grind arches on it. Those were
Soaps are my
Those-
favorite. See, that was a missed opportunity
Soaps, what
to
the
not
hell?
blend the soaps with the Heelys and have the full shoe. Your extreme off-road action shoe.
yeah.
Well, guys, this has been some really quality podcasting. That's all for today's show. Thank you all for tuning in to the
Fresh out
content.
the
No, I'm
shoe.
just joking. I'm just
Fresh
joking.
out the
Nico,
shoebox.
let's talk your comic book stuff that's going on. So tell us a little bit about I mean, have you been drawing, for a long time, or did you start writing, or how, what's kind of been your process, I guess, in your adult life with deciding that comic books was something that not only you were interested in, but you wanted to make more of a career for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I guess ever since I was a kid, I was always kind of doodling in like margins of homework and tests and whatnot. But I mean, I always used to read tons of novels, tons of sci-fi books and whatnot. So I think my love for kind of creating stories started there. And then kind of as I got a little bit older, I started trying to write kind of prose type of short stories and novels. Um, but I had always been an avid comic book collector. So kind of as time went on, I was, writing, I was kind of just grinding through these like novel type of documents. And I'm like, man, like I read comics so much. I collect them all the time. I love them. Why am I not trying to write, comic scripts? So I kind of just did a whole deep dive into like script writing and just kind of figure out the ins and outs and how to collaborate. And then I went throughout college. There was kind of a break there where I was kind of focusing because I went to college at LSU, so I moved to a different state, and I was kind of just trying to like find my way, there. So I kind of put comics and novel writing and whatnot on the back burner. But whenever I graduated, I kind of got back into comics and started going to the shop every week, and I just refound my love for it, man. And I went to a couple conventions and just kind of started networking with some artists, writers, and whatnot. And you know, I wrote a script, I sent it to an artist, and he liked it a lot. And just from there, as we started, working together on a book, and I started seeing these pages kind of come to life, like these things that I see in my head all the time, and they're actually down on paper. It was kind of a fire starter there, and I kind of just haven't stopped loving it since, man. And yeah, it's been great.
Have you ever had like a character or something that you created and maybe you had a vision of what that character looked like in your mind, and then you see it drawn on paper in a way that's entirely different, but you actually say like, whoa, this is actually it. This is what that character is. That maybe the vision in your head wasn't even the right vision once you see what an artist's interpretation of it is.
Yeah, it's happened in a couple different facets. I think so. I'm doing a horror fantasy book called Feeder, and it centers around this girl named Shay Martinez that has this creature living inside of her that gets summoned every time someone falls in love with her. So the main creature design was on this creature, and I kind of drew out some sketches and sent them to the artist. Very preliminary kind of designs, and then whenever I got those back, I was just kind of like, whoa, this is what it needs to be. So that's happened on that section, but then whenever I'm doing my own comics and I'm drawing everything as well, usually the seed that I have in my head usually translates pretty well, but I love drawing like non-human things. So whenever I'm drawing I have a book where I drew a basically like this flying whale that gets transformed out of a raindrop. So I kind of with that, like I kind of visioned something, but as I just started sketching it out, it kind of came came to fruition. And so yeah, in that sense, it kind of altered from what I originally thought it was going to be. But
Really
yeah,
cool. Just for I guess for the Houston scene for this, are there a lot of comic creators, right? Writers, artists in Houston area, or is it?
not so much, man. So I have a couple friends that are kind of getting into creating comics, but there's really not, and that's kind of honestly that's been one of the things that has honestly kind of sucked about it because so I went to a convention in Anaheim, California. It's called WonderCon, and I went there, and the comic creation community there is just it's huge. They have a whole panel dedicated to artists, writers, letterers, colors, and everybody goes in there, networks with each other. They have weekly meetups where they kind of just go to a coffee shop or a bar and just kind of talk about what they're doing, next projects and whatnot. So it was awesome when I went there, and I was like, man, if only like this kind of existed in the Houston area. But there's really not too much. But there's a good like collector and like reader fan base. Whenever I go to Bedrock City Comics, that's my home for comics, and we have like book clubs and stuff every month. So it's still great, getting to kind of converse with everybody that's into comics, but there's a certain there's a distinguished mindset when it's like, okay, let's make these actual comics because comics take so much time, because you're not filming things and taking pictures of them. You're drawing each frame out. Um, so yeah, I wish there was more. So if you guys know of anybody, let me know.
Hey man, put the word out on Fresh Out the podcast, man. Everybody Houston wide, Texas wide. There's a lot of creators here now, and I notice there's a lot more, board game creators and a lot of card game creators. And I think this, era of internet has made it easier for us to all connect with each other. Where before, like you said, you go somewhere like California, and there's a pop-in scene for it. And here, I think there's a lot of creators, but we're so spread out, and people just don't know that the same guy in your same apartment complex is another streamer or another comic book creator. And we've had a lot of luck connecting with people over online communities, trying to expand with these local people trying these things. So, put the word out on the podcast, man. Everybody in Houston, let's get a comic scene going.
Yeah, it'd be great. I mean, I know it's like in Austin, I think it's a lot more thriving in Austin, which is more of an art-driven city. But I do feel like Houston's kind of making that art.
I really feel
savvy.
like Houston could be a great place for a creative scene to really sprout up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with how big of a city it is and how big, I mean, it's cliche to say, but how big of a melting pot Houston is. I mean, it's just there's so many people here. It's always kind of blown my mind that there's not a bigger scene for all the arts, film and video and TV. We do have a great theater arts scene. Like the theater district in Houston is actually one of the best in the country, which is great. But still, there's not like a lot of TV shows and movies that come to Houston to film. There's not, you just don't see that much, which is a shame for how big the city is. But I'm sure there's other reasons beyond that. But yeah, it's just, you would think that some of these things would be a little bit more, I guess, more thriving.
Sounds like we need to open fresh out the studios.
There we go.
Let's do it.
Yeah, well, Nico, that's really cool. I'm glad you're, taking the initiative and doing your thing. I think that one thing that's worth noting, because I'm a comic collector as well. I have collected for years and years, and some of the things that you described, I can relate with, because it was one of those things where I was in school, back in middle school, and would get like a weekly allowance. Usually that went towards the comic books I wanted that week, and then in college I kind of had to stop collecting for a while because I was a college student. I didn't have the disposable income until I started working side jobs and stuff. And then once I got out of school and started a career, and once I got to that point where I had some disposable income and could start picking up comics again on a weekly basis, I'd have my subscription box at Bedrock City as well. That's where I would go in Houston. And but as a kid, I was always big into the mainstream, into Marvel and DC characters, and now the independent scene is doing so well, and there's so many great books and characters that are not coming from the huge publishers. And so I think that's really worth noting, that some of the best stuff you can get at the comic book stores, definitely not under a Marvel or DC banner. They've got stuff too. I mean, they've got some really good books, but I really think that The Walking Dead was kind of a huge boost for just some of the smaller comic distributors.
Yeah. I mean, Robert Kirkman. I mean, he's legendary in the sense that he went from huge Image Comics fan to creator of The Walking Dead to now part CEO or something of Image. So he's like the ultimate indie creator's journey. But yeah, Walking Dead, and then Saga is kind of another one of those big Image indie books that have kind of just really kind of paved way for kind of these different style of stories. But I mean, yeah, like you said, Marvel and DC, they're still putting out some good stuff. But yeah, and indie comics are kind of making a pretty big impact in the industry. So I'm definitely happy for that.
Saga, Paper Girls, we're
Brian
about
K.
to get a
Vaughan.
Why the Last Man TV show. There's a trailer out for that, and that starts soon.
Yeah.
And I think
I mean,
Sex
everything.
Criminals is a big one. I mean, there's some really popular ones. I actually, when Robert Kirkman was finishing up The Walking Dead, and his new series was announced called Oblivion Song that came out, I was like, oh, I'll pick up that because, it's Robert Kirkman and The Walking Dead was so successful. And I picked up the first several arcs of that, single issues. And, of course, now they've announced that that's going to be, I can't remember if it's a movie or a TV show starring Jake Gyllenhaal. And I'm like, well, man, glad I bought those when they came out, because hopefully that'll blow up like The Walking Dead did.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean-
Robert Kirkman also did Invincible.
Yes.
Yeah, Invincible was out of control.
Invincible was incredible.
As
So,
a person who is not a fan of The Walking Dead at all, he has certainly won me over with Invincible, which is more of a his take on a classic comic book style, with the violence ramped up a bit.
Yeah, and he's got another book. It's ongoing right now, but it's called Firepower. And it seems, I haven't read it. I think I've read the first issue, but it seems like his take on Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's what it looks like to me.
Come
So,
on, yes,
I
sir.
wouldn't be surprised if that gets an animated show or something too.
We are huge fans of Avatar: Last Airbender. Jahan and I are. And,
Yeah.
Recently, they announced their tabletop role-playing game, and
Nice.
it topped Kickstarter as the highest funded tabletop role playing game of all time on Kickstarter.
Yes.
So we got the quick start. We looked at it. We are super excited to play it. We're huge marks for that whole world.
Yeah. Myself, I liked Korra even better than Airbender.
That is not a popular opinion, but I also greatly enjoyed Korra.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was just something about I just like the whole world they built like post Avatar, you know. It was pretty cool.
In the tabletop role playing game, it lists the different eras of the different avatars. And there's like 6 different eras that it recommends playing in, and one of them is the pre-Aang Saga, whenever the Fire Nation is taking over the rest of the
100-Year
world.
Wars. That's one of the times.
Shit. I think that would be a fun time to explore.
Be interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. What kind of comics you do right now?
Yeah, so right now, like I said earlier, the kind of my main project going right now is it's a book called Feeder. It's a horror fantasy book coming out with Action Lab Comics. So it'll be like my first officially published book with a comic publishing company. So that's pretty exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. It's definitely more of a mature read. So there's a lot of violence in it. There's some cursing, you know, but it's kind of been a mashup of like things I love, you know, horror type of stuff, you know, creature design plus like mystery noir type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I said, it follows the main character named Shay Martinez, who kind of has this creature living inside of her that gets summoned every time someone falls in love with her. So it's kind of, in a sense, I kind of wanted to make something. You know, I don't know if you guys seen like a movie like It Follows or something, kind of like those horror movies with kind of like metaphorical kind of meanings to it. So that's kind of what I tried to do with this book. And so she's the main character, and then the other character is like the detective who's kind of picking up on these murders that's happening, and just kind of how their story collides. So that's kind of been my main focus right now. So I'm writing that book, I'm coloring it, and doing letters, and also some cover art for it.
If you ever need any help picking the brain of some inner workings of detective stuff, you just let me know.
Man, so that's actually I might take you up on that, because you know I like to do kind of research and put in some, you know, little. I read Mindhunter. So is that it was the Netflix series is called Mindhunter. I'm pretty sure the book is called Mindhunter as well.
One of our players in one of our games was featured on that show.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Leighton Samuels.
He's on our Thursday night show, and I think he was in the first 2 episodes of Mindhunter as one of the trainees in the academy. He doesn't have any words, but he's in it, and I saw him, and we've known him since high school. Like, he was a little freshman growing up with us, and so to see him on the big screen, and then, of course, now we're, like, great friends again. We see him every week, so it's awesome. Yes, awesome. I know Mindhunter. Let's just, long story short.
That's awesome.
And Mindhunter is great. It's a great depiction of...
Good. Yeah, because that was kind of one of the books that I did for research, and I read it through, and I was thoroughly, you know, into it, and I was like, man, this seems pretty good. So
they're so serious in Mindhunter. In real life, you can't be serious all the time, right? And a lot of people cope with it through different means. We could get into that, but it's a good read at Mindhunter. Good watch.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it. I'll make sure that we get all information from Nico about, you know, upcoming books and where to find more information and release dates and all that kind of stuff, and I'll make sure we put it in the show notes for this episode of the podcast too. So if you're looking for that stuff, just look in the notes, and I'll have links there for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that's kind of one of the main thing that I'm doing.
Do you have any favorite, like, you know, mainstream superheroes that's like a childhood favorite that you still have a soft spot for?
Yeah. I mean, so you know, it's changed over time, but you know, I was a huge Batman fan just because of, you know, Batman the animated series was kind of a huge cartoon in my development. And But I think Batman is such a cliche answer now, just because everybody loves the Bat.
Hey, you
But
can like
over
Batman
Not
all you
though.
want.
yeah. But as time went on, my favorite character is probably Swamp Thing.
Nice.
I as from the first time I watched Planet of the Apes, like 1968 version, Charlton Heston, I've kind of steadily developed like a fascination with like those creature type of characters that they have human sentiments, but they're just not human. So I feel like Swamp Thing, and especially back when Alan Moore was writing, that kind of seminal run on it with him and Stephen Bissett and a whole bunch of other horror artists. That that book and that character's kind of rang true with me, just because I love the whole creature aspect of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's kind of a soft guy, which is that Beauty and the Beast type of mentality. But yeah, Swamp Thing. I love Swamp Thing.
I mean, to take too much of the focus off of your projects, are there, we talked about Feeder, but are there any other projects you're working on or things that you're able to plug?
Yeah. So one of the books that I'm doing, kind of just all myself, writing art and everything. It's kind of a pretty big departure from that Feeder book, just because I kind of needed another series to kind of get away from the dark, dreary madness of Feeder. And I've been doing this indie book, my indie book called Prim. It's called Prim and the Lunar Turning. It's basically kind of Adventure Time ish. If you guys are familiar with that
Huge fan.
cartoon, yeah, huge fan.
We actually
Yeah,
had
so
a
it's
long Adventure Time discussion on one of our last podcast episodes, ironically.
yeah. So it's in the same vein as that, where it's kind of just some trippy stuff that's just like it's a fun book to make, because I'm basically drawing what I want to draw and just kind of the stuff that comes to me. And I'm obviously I'm putting it in this kind of like fantastical adventure story about
So
this.
you drew this.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I have it pulled up for the people watching live, and that's good. That's really good.
Thanks, man.
I
Thanks,
love
man.
that art
Yeah.
style.
Thank you. Yeah, it's more of a cartoony animated type of that, but that's more of my style of drawing. I'm a huge fan of I don't know if you guys might be familiar with the character Usagi Yojimbo. He's basically a samurai rabbit, but he was featured in like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that's like his big claim to fame. But
I
it's a
remember the action figure.
yeah. So, but it's been a comic series by a creator named Stan Sakai, and it's been a legendary book. But I'm a huge fan of that. He's kind of got this more cartoonish storytelling about him. So was big influenced by that. But Prim and the Lunar Turning, it's basically it's a trippy ride adventure story about this guy who is going to get transformed into this dimension's new moon. So yeah,
Huh.
it's weird, but it's fun, and that's going to be a three-part story. So the first story is up to read for free right now on my Gumroad link, and that can be found in my Instagram. And I'll give you guys the info on that too.
Yeah, nicocreative.gumroad.com for those of you listening.
Yeah, so that's another one. I have a sci-fi fantasy book that I've been working on for a while. It's called Free Will. It's more in the vein of like Mad Max meets Doctor Strange. So it's post-apocalyptic with kind of crazy creatures. Like I said, I love making creatures, so you'll find creatures in all of my stories and magic and stuff like that. So those are kind of my main stuff. But yeah, I'm just like always coming up with random stuff. So I always try to get it down on paper.
And we talk on this show a lot about movies, TV, games, things we're playing. I'm just kind of curious, what are your other interests other than comics? I'm sure that with comics being that big of a part of your life, it's probably a huge time suck. But I want to know, what else are you into?
Yeah. I do have a PS4, so I do game some. The the game that I've been playing for a while now that I really need to finish because it's amazing is Ghost of Tsushima. So I love that game and it's beautiful. I mean the art direction on that game is nuts. But it's
I
just such
have wanted to play Ghost of Tsushima for so long. There's actually a note in my phone from the E3 where it was announced. and
nice.
when it was announced and I watched the trailer, I put a note in my phone and was like, I'm gonna buy that game. And that note is still there, and I will still buy that game.
Yeah,
Platinum to Ghost of
great.
Tsushima. Just saying. Got that.
You already
Got that
finished it,
platinum
Drew?
trophy. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Drew.
Yeah.
Drew
Wow.
finishes the shit out of games.
Yeah, he
I'm
doesn't just beat it.
a completionist to a fault. Like
Mhm.
like a game like that, if I can achieve it, I'll go for it. But I did platinum it. That was that. I guess that was last summer, which is crazy. But I had played The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima came out like back to back, and I drilled through both of those and platinum them both over the span of like a month and a half or so without playing anything else.
Have
Those
you
are great. Ghost
have
of
you
Tsushima
played
is really good.
yeah, it's amazing. Have you played Death Stranding?
I have not.
So I'd be curious to hear your opinion because I played that one full and I loved it, but
I know of it, of
people hate
course. You
it.
know, I
It's,
know a lot of general thoughts about it, or kind of how mixed reception it got. Like there are people that
Very
love that
much.
game, and then there are the ones that will just say that it's boring and that they moved on. So
It's
I'm very interested in it to play it sometime, but I actually own it. I have it on PS4 disc.
Yeah.
It was one of those where I got it on like a Black Friday or something. Like it was on sale. I got it cheap, and I have it, and I've just been sitting on it, waiting for the right time to play it, and it just hasn't hit me yet.
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah,
bad
it's
about
a
that, buying games and just holding on to them before I actually play them.
it's funny you mentioned Death Stranding. We were actually looking at it the other night because it's on sale right now on Steam for anyone watching. It's on sale right now. It's much cheaper. And it's funny. One of the tags, like one of its like like co-op multiplayer. One of those tags, it's a walking simulator, which I thought was really funny.
yeah. It's much more than that though. It's
Yeah,
like for me, like it simulates going out on like a woods adventure to me because you have to you have to get prepared, you have to get ready to go. It's not just walking because you come up to like so many crazy things. It's like I said, like if you like want to feel like you're going out on this weird indie sci-fi like foot adventure, like that's what it simulates to me, and I was addicted to it.
A
There
future
are
episode. Oh, go
lots
ahead,
of.
Gary. Sorry.
I was just gonna say there's lots of things that video games can be, and it's why I love the medium so much. There's this game called Telling Lies, and I haven't played it yet, but I've wanted to play it, and it's just like a bunch of clips of interviews, and people are telling you different things, and you have to rewind them and watch them over and figure out who's lying, and it's like a who done it type of investigative game. And so with games like Telling Lies, and then games like Death Stranded, where it's a walking simulator slash future barren preparation game. Video games can be anything. That's kind of my point. Is if people say I don't like video games now in this age and this era, that's almost an alien thing to say because video games can be anything now. It's such a broad spectrum, and I think it's awesome
yeah.
as a gamer.
Death Stranding is a great example of what video games can be. The creator of Metal Gear made that game. Couldn't be further from that, and it's starring Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, and it's just this crazy thing that happened. And yeah, to talk to your point about people complaining, the game creators are like, "This is the game we wanted to make exactly. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. Like, this is." They didn't apologize. They said this is what we wanted, and I respect the shit out of that.
I'm
Yeah,
actually going to be
it's
talking
it's
about
nuts.
Gamescom announcements and things on a future episode, but I do know I think it'd been announced before that, but they're doing a Death Stranding like director's cut. I think they're basically re-releasing the game with some extra features, and because I've held out on playing the game, even though I have the original version, I'm like, maybe I just need to get that one because it seems like some of the things they're doing to it make it a little bit more accessible from the start. So I don't know. We'll see. But
Man,
that's when we got
have to
into
pick
a Death Stranding wormhole a little bit there. Nico, is there anything else that you want to add before we get on to our fresh out the podcast takes for this week?
Not really, man. Yeah, it's just it's I've kind of found my thing to be passionate about, and whenever I get home from work, it's usually around 5:30 p.m. and I'm trying to already get on the drawing board and kind of push through. Stuff takes so much time, but in my opinion, it's worth it because it really is like the best of, honestly, like it's my favorite medium because I feel like it gives you a balance of like the literature side of things as well as like visualization. So like I've said it on a podcast before, but you can have these incredible like uh, cinematography going in these shots that you're drawing, but you can also put like intriguing dialogue over it or like intriguing captions that like you know are very descriptive that have a poem inside it. It's just it brings the best of both like actual reading like novels in addition to like artwork, and I really feel like it melds those two things so well. And I think that's kind of what has like got me basically addicted to to making them and whatnot. And also, I did want to mention that I will be at a convention called Eastern Rim Con next this coming Saturday. So Saturday the 11th and 12th. It is in Baytown, Texas, and the cool thing is that it's free for guests. So if you're not doing anything, come on out because it's free. You don't have to pay a thing to get inside. So, and I'll be there with all the books that I spoke about today, and just there to meet some new people. So,
Awesome. Well,
Oh.
anytime you want to come on the show and plug one of your books or anything you got going on, you are always welcome.
cool, man. Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely take you up on that.
Yeah, if you're listening from Houston, go bug Nico at the convention and tell him Fresh Out the Box sent you.
Yeah,
In
that'd be
fact,
great.
if you're one of those comic creators we were talking about earlier, bug Nico, and he's going to be kind of we're going to just go to him. He'll be sort of the kingpin of the new Houston comic book scene. He'll get it all sorted out. He'll get everybody on track and get it figured out for you.
Oh.
It's a big responsibility, but he's willing to take that on.
Got it, man. Let's do it.
I have already actually copied and sent off your Gumroad account to my wife because I was looking at the cover art and was like, "Bro, that's dope. That is straight up. I think it's her style. I think she'll love it."
It's really good. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun making that book.
Awesome. Well, we are going to move on to some of our certified fresh out the podcast takes, which, Nico, just for your information, this is just, the forum for us to talk about the stuff that we have been enjoying recently, whether that's movies, games, books, TV, whatever it may be. And I will kick us off, actually. I had talked, I think on last week's episode, I had bought this Indiana Jones 4K collection, and I think at that time I had watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom, and I finished the 4 Indiana Jones movies. I watched all of them on crisp, beautiful 4K UHD disc, and I have 2 takeaways. I'm not, obviously it's Indiana Jones. If you're listening to the show, more than likely you've seen the Indiana Jones movies. There's not much I'm going to be able to tell you that you don't already know about these. But I will say the biggest takeaways I have are that my ranking for them go in order of release. So like I think Raiders is the best, then Temple of Doom, then Last Crusade, then Crystal Skull. I think that's the order of best to worst, but Crystal Skull, a lot better than it was in my mind from when I saw it in theaters over a decade ago. That movie, when watched with the other ones, fits in just fine. It gets kind of a bad rep, and there's a lot of Shia hate in it, and it's not his fault. I think that movie is actually pretty solid and has some pretty good action set pieces. I think that the main error in that movie is that the last act kind of has like an Aztec aesthetic, even though it's dealing with an alien storyline. And I get it, right? Like the first few movies are set in the 30s, and this one's set in the 50s, when there's kind of more of like like the space race was more of a thing, or there was I guess more of a culture fascination with aliens and such. Like it makes sense. But if you're gonna go aliens, they should have just gone all the way. They should have really dove into aliens with the aesthetic and everything. I think that's the biggest nitpick with the movie. But Crystal Skull, better than its reputation, would be my hot take from it.
I haven't seen it. I'm not planning on seeing it.
Ever?
I mean, like, it doesn't look or sound good in any way.
Do you like the other Indiana Jones movies?
They're fine. It's not my thing, really. I watched the original 3. They're, it's
Fair enough.
I think you're absolutely right.
Wildly offensive. Sorry, that was what I was looking for.
They get better in the order in which they come out, but that doesn't change the fact that Temple of Doom is my favorite.
Or worse, you mean?
Yeah. They get worse as they come out. That's exactly right. Yeah, starts at the best.
To me, Raiders and Temple of Doom are like right there with each other. Temple of Doom is good. It's weird. It's really weird. It's probably the weirdest of the Indiana Jones movies, but it rules.
See, I feel like that writing room has a lot of like, yeah, why not? When they're talking about stuff. Like, yeah, sure.
It could happen. Some writing rooms, you can tell if they're high or you can tell if they're coked up. And I think that writing room, they might have all just been smoking opium. Like, they made some choices.
See, I think they were drunk on apathy.
The whole thing, and this is a pretty well-known story, but like when Spielberg and George Lucas and whoever else were sitting down to do Indiana Jones, the whole premise was, we want a movie that's all the good parts, right? Like there's not going to be any lag. It's going to be every 10 minutes something happens. This movie's going to move. And they really do, I think, for the most part. They're a little aged, but they're still good. So,
I don't want to talk about Fast and Furious during every podcast, but if you want to talk about movies that are just action with no plot, look no further than my franchise.
I mean, that's a lot of movies now, right? Like, movies have to move these days because right now everybody's attention span is microscopic these days with our phones and all the content that we have available at our fingertips. But for back then, in the early 80s, the Indiana Jones movies were unprecedented with the
Isn't there a number 5 coming out soon? That's what I keep hearing.
They're either filming or they've already wrapped filming.
Yeah, I hear they just got done fishing out of George Lucas's toilet.
Boo. Boo that joke.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I actually don't think he's involved with the new one at all, but I might be wrong.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I think James Mangold is the director. He's the guy that did... I know he did Logan and Ford v Ferrari, so those were pretty decent movies.
Oh, jeez, Logan.
Yeah, so
dropping that hot drop. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Indy will just crack some heads off with his whip in this one.
You know what, Drew? Fine. I'll watch Crystal Skull.
Yeah, just do it. Why not? Right? What can it hurt?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll like the 5th one. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good.
I don't want to talk to. I could actually go down even more wormholes about Indiana Jones, but I'll move on just because it's not the most revolutionary topic. But I will say that led me to watch. I have never seen, or had never seen, the National Treasure movies, which I know kind of have a cult following. There are people that really like those movies. I had just never seen them. After watching the Indiana Jones movies, a friend of mine was like, "You haven't watched this?" And so we sat down and watched the first National Treasure movie while I was in Oklahoma a week ago. And National Treasure with Nick Cage. It's pretty good. Pretty good. It's fun.
Did you saw just the first one or both?
I just saw the first one. We started
Yeah.
the second one. I actually haven't gone back to finish it yet.
National
I used-
Treasures is better than Indiana Jones.
Ooh, hot take. I used to love that movie. For some reason, just like the idea of like heisting the Declaration of Independence. I mean, or was it the Constitution? I can't remember.
It's the
It was
Declaration.
the
of
Declaration,
Independence.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, yeah, I haven't seen it in so long, but
I watched it
Back when-
periodically. Yeah, I mostly said it's better than Indiana Jones to make Drew mad, but you know.
Oh, don't you're not. I mean, I don't have that much of a attachment to Indiana Jones. Don't worry. You can.
Okay,
you
cool.
Can dog on it.
I do.
There's probably people that will listen to this that will get much more mad at you than I will. So
I feel like
I'll let
National
them come at
Treasures-
you on Twitter.
At the very least, is more watchable. Like, I don't know, it just like I don't feel like it's as long, it's not as heavy, like it's more fun. I don't know.
Indiana Jones is pretty fun, I think.
They're fun. He's just
Swashbuckling
don't
adventure
listen
story.
to Jahan. Just don't listen to him.
Indiana Jones or Pirates of the Caribbean? What's better?
Oh.
Oh man, you said the magic words, bro.
Oh boy, if I had to tell you which one was more entertaining from scene to scene, it's without a fucking doubt Pirates of the Caribbean. Even the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean is good, and it's terrible.
Is that the one with Javier Bardem?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an awesome bad guy. That movie
He
ended
is.
with them parting the seas and fighting like Moses. Yeah, they know what they are.
They
Those
know what they're
movies-
doing, yeah.
Yeah, they're dope as fuck.
1 through 3 are fire, bro.
Dude,
I can't remember the subtitles for any. I'm trying to think right now. There's Pirates of the Caribbean, and then there's Pirates
Curse
of
of
the
the Black
Caribbean.
Pearl.
Dead,
was the
yeah, Curse
first
of the
one.
Black Pearl is the
Dead
first
Man's
one.
Chest, and
Dead
then
Man's Chest. At World's
At
End,
World's
I think
End.
is the third one. And then I cannot, for the life
One-
of me,
one
remember. The
Stranger
fourth one's the
Tides.
Blackbeard one
I think it's either the New World or the Fountain of Youth or
on Stranger Tides.
On
Is
Stranger
that the
Tides,
fourth
yeah.
one? And the fifth one is Dead Men Don't
Dead
Die.
Men Tell
or
No Tales.
Dead Men Tell No Tales. Is that it? It's
Yeah,
something like
sounds
that.
right.
Anyway,
Hey.
not that we go down a lot of wormholes on this show.
Man,
Before
I
we
don't know if
get
you guys
copyright
I like
dinged
that
for
movie.
Jahan singing that song, I'll pass it on to somebody else to talk
I think
about
you can
something
do
different.
10 seconds. I think you got 10.
You were talking about National Treasure, Drew. I was going to ask you if you've seen any other good Nicolas Cage flicks recently.
I was gonna wait to get into it because I knew this would come up, but yes, I watched National Treasure. It led me, I was feeling Nick Cage, my boy, after watching that.
I love Nick.
One of the great actors who is currently just doing his own thing.
Every time
he's
Cage is on the screen, I wish that he was gone in 60 seconds.
Mm.
I think that he just kind of has fun doing whatever projects he feels like doing. That being said, there is a movie that just came out in limited theatrical release that you can actually rent it or buy it on iTunes, so on. But I actually had heard good things about this Nicolas Cage movie for once, and it's called Pig. Nico, have you heard of Pig?
Yes, I've heard of Pig. I haven't seen it, unfortunately, and I wish I had because I'd love to get into some juicy details about it.
Well, I'll say first, I watched Pig.
Mm,
I liked Pig.
mm,
I told Gary that I watched Pig,
mm.
and then Gary watched Pig. And Gary's reaction was not the same as mine. And even since Jahan has now watched Pig
Yes, I have.
as well, I think because he wanted to weigh in after hearing mine and Gary's opposite takes. So, yeah, well, let's talk Pig for a minute here.
Nico, there might be some Pig spoilers here. I don't know if I want to ruin the movie of the year for you.
Yeah, the movie of the year. It's okay. Go for it. I'm here.
Well,
Oh,
for
spoiler
anybody who
alert.
doesn't know, the general premise of Pig is that Nicolas Cage plays a man who lives kind of out in the woods on his own, and he, I believe, outside of Portland, Oregon,
Yes,
if I
outside of
remember
Portland, Oregon.
correctly, and lives in the woods, and he lives alone with a pig that he is a truffle pig. The pig is trained to search out truffles, and he sells truffles, and that's how he makes his living out in the woods. And he lives by himself and doesn't want to be bothered, and that's it. And then one day his pig gets stolen, which then that leads, kind of a sequence of events and finding out more about him and his character, and as he tries to get his stolen truffle pig back. And I think it's really good. I think it's really good. It is shot really well. I don't have the director I had never heard of before, and I don't have his name up in front of me, but I'm pulling it
Michael
up just to
Sarnowski.
Yes,
The
that is
particular
it.
scene where they're at the dinner that they have towards the end, the dinner that he has prepared, the camera work in that scene is like so fucking bad. I was screaming out loud at my TV about how fucking bad the camera work was. The whole movie, they were using these great steady shots and even uncomfortable long shots because that's how the movie is. Whatever, that's fine. But in that particular scene, the camera was just moving all over the fucking place. Just during that scene, like some kind of found footage bullshit, but during a dinner party for no fucking reason. No, I don't think that
You'd
movie
have
was
to go back
shot.
and watch that scene. I don't remember.
I would also have to go back and watch
that
it.
part
I
didn't
remember
strike me at
that
all.
scene almost making me cry like a baby. That was it got so emotional so abruptly, and like it was surprisingly powerful.
The movie took an interesting look at the culinary scene in Portland.
It did.
as well.
Oh
That
my
I enjoyed
God.
aspects
So
about that.
this movie was so like when you know it takes place outside of Portland, anyone knows that this movie is gonna like the smell of its own farts because Portland is so far up its own fucking ass. So you just know when you're getting into an artsy piece in Portland, you're gonna get something like this. And
I'm sorry to anybody who's listening to this that may be from Portland. He doesn't mean it.
I mean it, but Drew is sorry and he means it too. So stick around.
I would say he doesn't speak for the brand or the channel, but he absolutely does.
I speak for half of the brand. And
So part of Fresh Out the Box is fuck you, Portland.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not taking it back anytime soon.
I wouldn't have it any other way, man.
So the movie enjoys the smell of its own farts. Let's put it that way. And they treat the Culinary Institute in Portland like it's some sort of dangerous mafioso, and like dealing truffles is a criminal underground job. And this whole time you're like, how deep is he? Like, how far does this conspiracy go? But it doesn't. It doesn't fucking go. And a spoiler alert, he doesn't fucking even get the pig back. It doesn't go, right? There is no criminal underground, really. It's just a fucking guy, and then he doesn't get his fucking pig back, and then he goes home. And it's a slow, weirdly shot, sad, boring movie about nothing. And nobody wins. It's not a thing, and it's not a thing.
Say he wins. I think that there's some emotional moving on that he has to go through.
I think that
the pig is more of a is kind of more of a metaphor in his own life for what it represents. That's what I took away from it.
So
I will not be surprised if in the sequel he kills himself in the first 15 seconds and then the credits roll, because that's a sad, lonely man who lives in the woods with no pig.
It's funny. We heard from Drew, we heard from Gary. I loved the movie. I thought it was really good. I don't typically like the Academy, like dramatic, like they're going for awards kind of stuff.
This is really that, but I mean, it could be. It's good enough too, but I
It's
think
good
this
enough
one's
to.
gonna get. I think it's gonna get overlooked when it comes.
You think
to
so?
that kind
See,
of
I
stuff.
feel like this one. See, it's not too artsy. I don't think it's really that artsy. I think it's just artsy enough. I don't think it likes the smell of it so far. I think it really touches on some really interesting stuff. If I had to put it in a nutshell in like one sentence, I would say this is John Wick, but instead he's an emotional assassin. Because that's kind of what he does. And he's this man. You find out later that he's this highly respected person in the Portland scene, which, fine, whatever. But he goes through, he has this boy with him, his truffle dealer, who's, at the end of the movie, you find out, his father's involved in the stealing of this pig. And they go on quite the emotional journey. And I think every word out of Nicolas Cage's character's mouth is like profound. I really do think that it's very well written. He is very nihilistic. He's very depressed, which I vibe with, man. I really do. But then it also, like, they explore weird things like sense memory. He makes this man who refuses to give back his pig a meal. He says he remembers every meal he's ever made. He recreates this man's like dead wife's favorite meal that she ever had. And when he eats it, he sobs, and he breaks down. And it's this real, like, I don't know. There's this power in it, and there is power in memory, and taste and smell can unlock very potent memories. Scientifically, like, that's true. And it's just this very interesting ride. I liked every minute of the movie. I wasn't bored. I don't feel like it's that long, and
I
it's
think
I don't
it's
know.
less than an hour and a half. I think it's like an hour and oh no, it says 92 minutes is the running time. So,
They
really
got
great.
to me.
It's like, yeah.
I teared up a couple times, and like I liked it. I felt good after the movie. I felt like I had watched a journey.
It ran an hour and a half, and it felt like it ran 30 minutes over. The entire third act was a huge fucking boring letdown. And I think all that this movie ever wanted from the time the writer wrote it until like 45 seconds ago, the only thing that they ever wanted was somebody to say that it's like John Wick, except blah, 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 blah. Because it is so fucking obviously like John Wick with a pig, except blah, 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 blah. That's just the writer obviously woke up and was like, I got this great idea. I'm going to do my own take on John Wick, except truffles and farts and Portland. And that's exactly what that piece of shit is. Also, Nick Cage would be an absolute fucking has-been, one-hit wonder nobody, except that he comes from a famous family. And I think Nick Cage is fine, but not exceptional in any way whatsoever.
I like
Gary,
him. I think
have
he's
you
very
seen Men?
intriguing.
I'm sorry, Nico. What was that?
Have you seen a movie called Mandy?
Let
Nick Cage
me
movie?
bing it real quick, because
I do indeed love Mandy.
let me bing Google, and then I'll Google it. I'll look at the cover and see.
I believe
But
it's
Mandy
from
does have
2018.
that-
It's a recent movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does have the artsy stuff about it, but there is, I think, Jahan, you saw it before,
I
right?
did. It's a psychotropic 80s cult
Yes.
demon.
I'd like to hear your opinion on that Nick Cage movie.
Man,
Here.
Mandy's good. Mandy's fun. Well, it's not fun. It's horrific. It's hard to gaze upon. It's pretty gory. And I don't know. Because like back in during the time period that it takes place, there were a lot of cults. That was a big thing. People loved starting them, and it dehumanizes the people that start them. Which good. Those people are bad. And he goes on a vengeance spree, but it's different somehow. Like, it's just, I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's super it's trippy horror.
He becomes what he hunts. And yeah, no, I love Nick Cage. Nick Cage is great. Gary, you're
He's
crazy.
an opening actor that's, worth noting. I think that he is actually very talented, but I think he also just likes to do his own thing. And sometimes he is, I think right now we associate him with a lot of the kind of B-movie schlock that he'll put out, because that's what he's doing a lot recently.
Like Mom and
But
Dad.
I think that Pig is a very good reminder that he is actually a very fine actor when he's hitting it the levels just right, because he can go very big and he can go subtle, and it's just kind of if he adjusts that to just the right amount. But no, I would recommend Pig. I think Jahan would recommend Pig.
I also recommend
Gary
Pig.
obviously doesn't recommend Pig. I know that we got into some spoilers, but if you want to check it out, I'd recommend it, and you can rent it for like $7 on iTunes if you want.
We
to.
really didn't spoil anything important. It's still an amazing journey, an amazingly emotional journey. And yeah, so since I knew we were going to be talking about this, I actually paid attention to things that I normally wouldn't, because I just kind of like to look at the movie and just take it in. But I was being more analytical, and like you're right, a lot of his acting in this is very subtle. Like his face work, his body language. Because he doesn't talk that much in the movie. Every time he does, it's very profound. But his acting is mostly body work, and it's very, very good. Fresh out the box.
Let's see. I'll mention, while we're on the topic of movies, for me, I'll just say that I watched Candyman. I actually watched both. I watched the 1992, I guess, when the original Candyman movie came out. I watched that, and I watched the new one that is currently in theaters, directed by Nia DaCosta. And it's good. It's I think I wanted to like it more than I did. It's very much in the same vein as like Halloween. They had the original Halloween, and then they made the 2018. The 2018 movie was released, and it kind of ignored all the past Halloween sequels, and it was disregarded those, and it was a sequel directly to the original, and kind of a sequel slash. I don't think you can even call it a reboot, because it really is a sequel. But I thought that was really, really, really good, well done. And I think I wanted this new Candyman to be more like that, and it just wasn't quite there for me. But I did enjoy it. I think that it touches on some really interesting social issues, which is really what's at the heart of the Candyman movies from a horror perspective, anyway. So that's all I'll say about that.
It does look really good.
Pig. So Pig took up a lot of our time. So that's how it's gonna have to be. We'll talk about some other things, because I want y'all to be able to talk about your own takes real quick.
Absolutely. Just real quick, since this is just a real quick little snip. I finished Brand New Cherry Flavor. I loved Brand New Cherry Flavor. I watched it with Jenny. She was ambivalent. She was meh. She didn't really like it that much. I thought it was great. It's a trippy, drug-fueled, nightmare thing. It's got a lot of body horror, so if you're not into that, I would advise against it. It has a lot of body horror, but it is very good. And that's all I wanted to say about that. On Netflix now.
Cool. Anything else you've been watching you want to talk about, or do we want to pass it back to Gary?
I think you watched Psycho Goreman.
I did. I purchased Psycho Goreman, to be clear, and I forced Gary to watch it recently, and then and you watched it here too. And Psycho Goreman is a really cheesy B movie style sci-fi.
Are we really going to talk about Psycho Goreman for 3 podcasts in a row too, Jahan? Did you really make us do this?
What are you talking about? We've only mentioned it. This is the first time I'd seen it.
It rules.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I love the cuts when he starts talking about like his past. It gets so epic. And it's just, I don't know, it's crazy. I love this movie.
It's like violent Power Rangers.
It does have major Power Rangers energy at times.
It is like violent Power Rangers. Very much so. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it has like some like eldritch horror qualities, but it's mostly cheesy gore.
like Jason Voorhees mixed with Power Rangers.
Yeah, so
You're right.
yeah, it's the things he does to people are hilarious.
And he likes hunky boys.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the my hunky boys. No.
I thought it was hilarious. Gary hated it.
Oh, I thought it was great. I watched it with my brother, my younger brother, and we were dying. We were laughing so hard. It is it's supposed to be funny. It's camp. It is the definition of camp.
I'll say this before we talk about it too long.
Yeah.
It's one of the ultra camp that I thought that even Gary would laugh at the so bad that it's good of this movie, and it didn't happen.
I think that Psycho Gorman is going to be a cult classic.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
If you have a chance, if you have a Shudder account, watch Psycho Gorman. It is worth. If you have a Shudder account, you'll probably enjoy this movie.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. If you already invest in Shudder, then you're gonna find something to like.
On Shudder, it has 5 Scream Skulls or whatever their rating system is out of 5. So
I knew that it was going to be coming to Shudder, and at the time that I wanted to watch it, it wasn't on Shudder yet, and I couldn't wait, and I purchased it. And I have a Shudder account, so go figure.
Seen it,
So,
unfortunately.
Jahan, you said you watched a whole season of Brand New Cherry Flavor, right?
yes,
I watched an entire season of Wu-Tang Saga. And that one, of course, is on Hulu. So you watched one on Netflix. I watched one on Hulu. We got to spread the streaming love, as always. It is, if you like Straight Outta Compton, if you like biopics or music, it's a biopic, and it's all about Wu-Tang before they are Wu-Tang, before they even have their Wu-Tang names. When they're all just on the street on Staten Island in the early 90s and late 80s. Which I don't know if you guys know a lot about New York, the way it was in the late 80s and early 90s, but it was a rough place, and Staten Island was one of the roughest boroughs. So the show is very violent, very street, very gangster, and then of course they are inspired by music, and music kind of stops the wars even that are going on in the streets of Staten Island. So I like biopics. It spoke to me. I like rap and I like music stuff. So I would say check out Wu-Tang Saga. And Wu-Tang Saga Season 2 comes out September 8th on Hulu. Yes. And I didn't even know we were going to get a Season 2. So now I'm excited.
Absolutely. I would enjoy watching that.
Yeah, I couldn't recommend it enough. If you like crime shows and music biopics. And then Ted Lasso. Drew, have you been keeping up with Ted Lasso?
I am up to date on Ted Lasso. I have watched the newest episode that at the time of this recording just came out yesterday. And that show is still great.
Mm-hmm. It is. Do we want to, are we talking spoilers on that show yet?
No, I'd say since it's still in progress, let's not, but I will say that not that I think the show has had.
What if I ask you a question and we actually don't know the answer to it yet? Can we do that? Can we do a do you think that Rebecca is going to wind up dating the soccer player? I forget his name.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Why or why not?
I don't know. I just can't see it happening. I have to see how that storyline gets addressed. I just don't see it happening. It seems like when they inevitably find out who they're speaking to, there's going to be some sort of fallout from that. But I can't see that becoming a relationship.
I agree.
Like
I don't think it's going to be an on-screen relationship, long-term relationship. I think I agree. I think she'll either tell him she can't because she's the boss and he's a player and it's in the best interest of the club, or he'll say that he can't because he has too much respect for her or something like that, position of power. But I agree. I don't think it's going to happen. But I do like the storyline. I'm invested.
Nico, do you watch Ted Lasso?
So this is season 2 going on right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So I watched all of season 1. I haven't started season 2 yet. But so Rebecca is the top dog. She's like the manager.
She's the team owner, I believe.
The owner, yeah. Yeah, the first season was great. Enjoyable watch for sure. I haven't got on. I just haven't got on season 2 yet, just because the the amount of other things that are on. But yeah,
I think we
I
are
need to
now
get on it.
9 episodes into season 2, if I'm not mistaken.
I think there's actually only been 7. I think
7?
there's only been 7. Maybe I'm wrong, but I know that there's 12 total this season, so we've got a bit more to go. But it's just like any good comedy or like I don't want to classify it as a sitcom. Like I don't know why. I just feel like it's elevated above a sitcom, but just for like a half-hour comedy, it does what a lot of the greats do, right? Like it introduces a great premise and characters in the first season, and the second season's just really diving into all of those characters, and I just really enjoy it. And I feel like they've been moving the plot along great, but even on the episodes where maybe it doesn't, they're still delightful to watch. There's even the Christmas episode from earlier this season that really didn't drive the plot forward. I thought was just extremely charming.
The Christmas episode sticks out in my head as maybe the worst episode of Ted Lasso, and was also, like you said, pretty good. I give it maybe like an 8 out of 10. It was pretty good. It was just the worst one.
Yeah. So
There's a
yeah.
show called 1015 on Hulu, which is kind of in the same vein as like that sitcom, but kind of elevated, which I enjoyed a whole bunch. I think that was 2 seasons so far.
I've heard
I don't know if you
great
guys
things
seen that.
about 1015, but I have not watched it.
Yeah, it's good. I
Pen
love it.
15 is Pen 15's funny.
I saw the first episode of Pid 15, and I think it is, I know it's written, produced, something by the Lonely Island guys. I think Yorma and Akiva are writing and producing on it. And so it is, it's specifically targeted at us, right? Because these girls were in junior high in like 2002, 2003. And so it's, you're watching the girls' point of view from junior high. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't get along well with girls at that age. I sucked at talking to girls at that age. And so it's funny to see how nervous and anxiety ridden and how hard it is to be a junior high girl from their perspective too.
Yeah.
I like the show, man. It tugs at my heartstrings. It's fun.
Yeah, it's totally for our age demographic.
Mhm.
Anything else you've been watching, Gary, that you want to mention?
Gary?
I'm sorry. I have nothing I was watching, right? I think the rest of what I got is video game stuff. Humankind came out. Jahan and I had been playing Humankind, PC game, free on Game Pass, and it seems like the more I play it, the more I don't like it, the more I just want to go back to playing Civilization. People always post public lobbies. They kick you out constantly. No one knows how to set a private game. It's ridiculous, to the point if you're playing by yourself, it'll take you like 25 minutes to even join a game. So the community is shitty, first of all. And secondly, there are like literally people's names that servers know as to not let this guy play in your game, because so many people quit so often and so fast because their start locations aren't good enough. And so the community is rife with problems. The game pretty much has disconnections every time, and they haven't added any DLC or anything yet, so it's just going to get worse over time. They have really come out kind of bust. If I would say boom or bust, they're a bust for me.
It's
they're
not
certified.
Yeah, it's not everything I wanted. It wasn't a smooth rollout. They did patch it, and the drops aren't as bad, and you can now play on your Prime account instead of having to make a weird Outlook account. But there's a lot of problems with it. It is fun. It's interesting. It's different than Civ, just enough. But it might be too different from Civ. If that
Yeah,
I do like Civ. Is Humankind like a sci-fi version of Civ or something?
No, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, so it's if you like Civilization, it is don't buy it, right? Don't go spend the $30 on it yet. Keep an eye on it. Wait till they add some DLC and see what they do. It's definitely got some cool foundations. It is a Civ clone, except instead of settling hexes, you settle like big regions that have chunks and borders pre-established. And the game is a lot more about controlling your political influence and taking over neighboring countries than it is about. There is still direct war, but there's a lot more option to assimilate cultures in that game. So it's got some neat ideas. It just isn't there. That's the last of my fresh takes. Or I guess not, that one wasn't as fresh.
I did want to do a shout out to a friend of the show, Tony Vicinda, who has a project on GameFound right now. GameFound is another backer kind of thing like Kickstarter. It's called Down We Go. It's currently on GameFound. I believe it's already fully funded, so if you back it, you will get your copy. And it's a little TTRPG design. So I just always want to, Tony Vicinda, friend of the show, Plus One EXP, check out their stuff. Down We Go on GameFound now.
Drew, do you have any closing remarks? Anything else?
I was just going to say, from a movie's perspective, there's some film festivals actually currently going on right now. Venice Film Festival, Telluride, so on, which, just currently the fresh out of the box budget isn't there yet to send one of us to to Venice or to Telluride and get credentials. We're not there yet, but maybe one day. But there are a lot of reviews that are starting to roll out for some of the big awards movies and such this year, which, in the future, especially as we move into the fall and a lot of these big award movies start coming out, I'll start talking more about it, because I get really into the award season an unhealthy amount, even though it's all stupid and doesn't matter at all. It doesn't, there's so many good movies that don't get recognized at these shows, but it's a hobby to follow it. But, for example, there's takes coming out about Dune, and they're mixed. I mean, it's kind of the things you would expect. There's a lot of it's a masterpiece and it's amazing, but you're getting the standard complaints of, but it's a part one. So it kind of leaves some threads hanging and maybe doesn't have the most satisfying conclusion because it's a part one of two.
We actually just covered the Dune tabletop role-playing game by Modifius Publishing last night. They were nice enough to give us a copy, a pre-release PDF copy, and it's awesome. It's great.
We were super impressed.
But we actually, Jahan and I had that same conversation that Dune, as a novel, a lot of what's written is loose ends. And so for the movie to have loose ends, read the book. The book has loose ends.
Yeah.
Fits the context, for sure. So, which Dune comes out in like a little over a month, so there'll be plenty of talking about that in the future. Some other movies that there's reviews starting to roll out for, things like Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho, Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch, let's see, Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog. These are like some of these movies you're going to start hearing about. Like, if you haven't heard of them now, as it gets closer to award season, you will start hearing about them. A movie called The Card Counter it's by Paul Schrader with Oscar Isaac, and then one of the ones I'm most intrigued about, which is Pablo Larraín's Spencer, which stars Kristen Stewart playing Princess Diana. That looks really intriguing to me. There's a trailer out for it now, and the reviews have been very positive. We're probably going to see Kristen Stewart get some awards claimed this year, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. It's the same director that did the movie Jackie, where Natalie Portman played Jackie Kennedy. So that's
for those of you listening, when Drew mentioned Kristen Stewart, Gary shook his head so hard. I thought his headphones were going to fly off.
No, she's an awful cast for Princess Diana. I do not like her, Sam I Am. I do not like her in a van. I do not like her on a tree. I do not like Kristen Stewart. No, sorry.
I won't get into it now because I could defend, because I actually am like a huge defender of both Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. I think they're both extremely talented and great actors in their own right, but they just got bogged down in all the Twilight whirlpool that they got sucked into. They've both been doing a lot of really great independent stuff since doing those movies to try to distance themselves from it. I think Pattinson's seeing a little bit more mainstream success than Kristen Stewart is, but but she might be the first to get a real awards nomination under her belt. So we'll see what happens. But I'll be talking about that stuff more as it goes on. But I just wanted to, from a film, as a self-proclaimed cinephile and somebody who follows the stuff, I can't not mention all those big shows going on. And as we get into the big festivals coming out, we're going to start hearing more about these movies that I'm very excited for.
Excellent. Nico, before we go, do you want to do a little last minute plug here for your stuff? Just a quick reminder.
Yeah. So as far as social media stuff, the biggest thing that I use is Instagram, and that's at Nico_Writes. So NICO_WRITES. Instagram and Twitter at the same handle. Like I said, September 11th and 12th, I'll be at Eastern Rim Comic-Con. That is in Baytown, Texas. I'll be there with all the books that I talked about today, and I'll also have some free goodies, some stickers, and just some little mini comics that I've made for free. So admission to the convention is free for all you guys. So it's only about 30 minutes away from Houston. So if you're in the area, come and stop by either the 11th or 12th. But yeah, that's about it.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can we find everybody else?
I am on Twitter at RockFact.
I'm on Twitter at CasualtyCDG, and Jahan and I also run a tabletop streaming channel where we play non-Dungeons & Dragons games every Wednesday, Thursday, and Fridays is kind of a free play Friday where we tackle board games with Kickstarter projects, indie games, and things like that. We are happy to announce that we are the first ambassadors in Green Ronin's ambassador program. So we have a sales code that can get you 5% off on Green Ronin and also help support Jahan and I, give us a little cash back. And that's something you can find on our Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Jahananon. And we're always on from 8 p.m. until 11 p.m. Central. Right now we're playing Savage Worlds. We're looking at playing a Dune game in the near future instead of our Wild West game. We also have an Expanse game going on Thursdays. That's Green Ronin's Age system, and we're looking at doing a Modern Age game on Fridays. I think that's everything we've got going on, right, John?
Yes, sir. That sounds good to me.
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, at Drew's Blues without an E in blues, DREWSBLUS. Drew's Blues on TikTok. That is my TikTok account showcasing physical media purchases. Just wanted to give that a plug. And do we have a hashtag for today's show? Oh, of course, follow the Fresh Out the Box Twitter account as well. It'll be in the show notes. That's a given. But
I think
hashtag for the show.
I think we should hashtag one of Nico's books. I bet those don't have any fire hashtags right now.
Not yet.
What's what do you have right now, Nico? What's one of your books that we should throw on our hashtag for our fans to hashtag for you?
You can hashtag Feeder, FEEDER.
So if you made it to the end of this podcast, send us a tweet at us, at all of us, just hashtag Feeder. Let us know that you made it to the end of the show. Thank you all for listening today, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Jahan and I'm the board game guru and game master extraordinaire.
Casualty CDG, a retired child crimes and human trafficking detective, turned tabletop titan and improv comedian. But you could call me Gary.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and I just cracked open an energy drink as we start our double-digit episode of Fresh Out the Podcast. I believe this is our 10th episode.
Episode 10.
We did it, guys. We've made it 10 weeks.
That's not bad. No, we stuck with it, and it's been fun.
I am thoroughly enjoying it. But I'm just it's been a long day. I'm a little tired. I got my energy boost here. Do y'all have energy drink preferences if you decide to get a energy drink beverage? What's your go-to?
So I don't know if you knew this about me, but I used to play a lot of video games, and I still do play a lot of video games. I went through a time in high school where I drank a lot of energy drinks. And so there were different periods of my life where I have preferred different energy drinks. So I would say that there was a time when I liked Balls. That's BAWLS.
BAWLS was the shit back then.
So it's like blue. It's like blue balls, right? That's kind of their joke, and that's pretty tasty.
I remember that drink. Do they still make that? Is that still an
Yes.
energy drink that's out there?
I think so.
Yeah, there used to be a place over on like North Highway 6 near Clay Road where I could get balls, and I would stop there on the way home after work and pick some up. But now there's a Monster, and it's called Chaos, and it's an orange can. It's called an energy juice instead of energy drink, and it's got like a ton of orange juice in it. And so it is a breakfast energy drink. It will get you going. It's so tasty, girl. I will tell you. Yeah, that's my jam now.
So back in the day, I was a big Monster guy. I drank Balls. I drank a lot of Jolt Cola, twice the caffeine, and they were like this big, which I'm holding in my hands, bigger than my face. They were bigger than my face. They had the blue one.
Because it just tastes like a good Coke.
It's just a giant Coca-Cola with double caffeine. And then Monster Energy, Chaos was my shit. And then I went to original flavor, stuck with it. And then Nerd. I used to really like Nerd. Those taste good. But now I can't drink energy drinks, or I'll have panic attacks.
Oh no.
But my favorite energy drink could be G Fuel if they pay us. So, you know.
You know, I was driving home from, I'd stayed up in Norman, Oklahoma. I had a friend named Drew who was going to OU up there, and I stayed with him. And we stayed up and like partied or drank or something like until like 4 in the fucking morning, and I had to go at 7 in the next morning. And so I grabbed 2 of the 6-hour energy drinks, or what are they, 3-hour, 4, whatever the fuck.
Like the little shots?
I grabbed 2 of those little shots. I pulled out of your apartment complex you were staying at. I stopped at like a Walgreens down the street across the corner. I went in, got 2 of those little energies, chugged them both, and like an hour down the road, I started just like shaking and sweating and had to have just the poops over and over the whole way.
Oh no.
The whole way from Oklahoma back to Houston. And so that was my one experience with those energy shots.
No. I am drinking a sugar-free Red Bull. So that means it's low in calorie and in no sugar and low in carbs. So that means it's good for you.
I heard that Red Bull sent you those because you're such a good podcaster that you and only you were sponsored by Red Bull.
Man, if I was, I would give them all the plugs. I'm giving them a free one right now. If they want to sponsor me, I would accept it. I would take it.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, no, I used to work at a place in the Heights at a restaurant, and they drank so much of exactly what you're drinking, the zero sugar Red Bull. They bought it by the case and they kept it in the walk-in, and they drank. One of the chefs must have drinking 3 a day, and I'm talking tall boys. And I'm like, dude, like, there's no way that's good for you.
Well, perfect. That Again, I keep saying this at the beginning of these shows. Quality podcasting, guys. This is just the content. You know, we have our discussions, we have our fresh takes, but this is the stuff that people really want to know. They want to know what, about our personal lives. What kind of energy drinks do we drink?
I think that I know that you're being a little facetious here, but I think that really we could probably make a channel where you just ask us questions and then we answer them. Like I think that could go on. I think that could go on for seasons where you just ask us different things and we answer them.
It's just a lot of how my brain works, like if there's something that I like or do, you just have that thought of like, I wonder how other people do this kind of mundane thing. Because people probably have their own weird way of doing it.
I have one that's actually, I have a question that's been burning a hole in my mind for a couple days and I haven't asked anybody. You guys mind if I just bring a random question on you? Who's your favorite, like, current pop star?
When you say pop star,
well, I'll start and I'll give you I'll tell you why I'm gonna pick Katy Perry because I think Katy Perry is she's not a rock star, right? That's pop. It's pop music. She does pop, singing and dancing and lights and colors, and the songs are catchy as fuck. Pop music. I just ever since Extraterrestrial, I thought Katy Perry was the shit, and she also looks like that actress from New Girl, Zooey Deschanel, and I also love Zooey Deschanel. Yeah, it is. So it's like a pop star version of an actress I already like. Plus, Dark Horse goes hard as fuck.
Okay, so when you first asked this question, I wasn't sure if you were just saying celebrity in general or specifically musician pop star.
So I think I'm guessing. What I mean is musician pop star. Who's your favorite current pop star?
I see. I would say if you say anyone other than Billie Eilish, you're wrong. She's the best right now. So.
I didn't know that Jahan was a tween.
I didn't know Jahan listened to Billie Eilish.
I am a grown man, and I love Billie Eilish, so...
I actually couldn't name a Billie Eilish song.
Unironically and unashamedly. I do enjoy
I know she's
music.
doing she's done the most recent Bond song. Every Bond movie these days comes out and has a theme from a pop star, and she does the one for No Time to Die, which they released the song over a year ago when they thought the movie was going to come out in April, and then it got delayed 7 times, and I think we're actually going to see it next month, but it's neither here nor there. She's the new Bond musician.
She's very talented.
That means something.
And also, honorable mention to BTS.
Oh gosh, but for my answer, I'm a really terrible person to answer this because I don't listen to a lot of pop music. But my go-to is JT, is Justin Timberlake. He had reached a point where I was like, is anybody gonna get bigger than JT is at this moment? Not to say he's the biggest ever, but there have been times where it seemed like he was the biggest pop star on the planet, right?
I've tried going back recently and listening to the new Justin Bieber stuff. That's I know he's still hot, right? He didn't fade into obscurity. He is still.
I like Bieber's newer stuff.
I did not like it, and I wanted to give it a fair shot because it's it's not fair to say I didn't like his stuff 10 years ago because he was a child, right? So he was doing different things. But I don't care for his sound now. It's just an aside.
I like his one song about being lonely and sad.
It's everyone's gonna every musician, every artist is gonna have a good song. All of them. You're bound to.
I don't think that's true.
You're bound to.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
I like Bruno Mars. Does Post Malone count as a pop star?
Yeah, sure.
I like Post Malone, for the most part.
So you've got a couple. I'd say Bruno Mars. That's a pop star. Post
I
Malone.
think Pre-Malone is better.
All right. See, we should have moved on right before he said that.
That was it. He did it again. Man, we just are looking forward to podcast night, and then Jahan in the first 5 minutes busts out one of those jokes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna turn my mic off now and walk away.
I pull him out of my case of nightmares.
Looks like we're running over time, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'm at CasualtyCDG on Twitter.
Let's talk Gamescom, right?
What?
That's the big discussion topic, which actually Gamescom took place. We're a couple weeks removed from it, which I think gives us, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? It's time for some of these announcements to have sunk in and to really form some opinions, or even some of them might have had more news that came out. But what do y'all? So I guess I'll just say, I was looking forward to the Microsoft press conference at Gamescom because I'm an Xbox guy, and I did tune in to watch some of it, and I just remember the announcements weren't as big or as, star-studded as I thought that they had potential to be. But that being said, there was some news out of Gamescom that I was interested in. But how about y'all?
Oh yeah, there's some big announcements in the world of gaming. Some long-awaited stuff, like Elder Ring, and then some very unexpected things that I had never heard of before.
Is it Elder Ring or Elden? It's
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
And I was not expecting what I saw from that. And then they just had a bunch of new IPs. So they had stuff that's been on the back burner for a long time coming up. You get to see progress finally. You had some reboots that I'm excited for. Some old IPs coming back and coming forward. And then you have some completely new IPs that I'm very excited for. So it was a cool conference.
So I pulled up I'm sorry. And Gary, did you have anything? I'm sorry if I cut you off.
No, I was actually going to say I didn't watch Gamescom. I don't really know what exactly was announced. I just know that a bunch of things have been announced recently. So I'll just jump in and out of this because I know that there's a bunch of games coming out. I just don't know particularly, what Gamescom was.
I pulled out a list here. This is actually from Tech Radar's website. And it's just a list of some of the top Gamescom announcements to kind of help us to organize our thoughts. So credit to them because they're doing the real work here. Of course, the first thing they mention is the Saints Row reboot that's coming out, which I know Gary complained to me in our chat about it being, just the cinematic trailers that are all the rage now, that they release these trailers to hype you up, but they don't really show anything. They don't show any gameplay, which this is absolutely guilty of. But are you at least excited for the idea of it, or what it hopefully will be?
So Jahan is actually also a huge Saints Row guy, and yes. I think both of us have a really similar idea of what we want this to be. Neither one of us are upset that they have gotten rid of the old characters. Like Johnny Gat's not going to be in it anymore. They've got new face. And maybe he will, right? Maybe there will be a cameo. Who knows? Maybe he'll be on a mission, but they're not the main part of your crew anymore. So people are upset about that. As an old fan of the series that's played literally all of them, okay, that's fine. We had enough of those characters. I'm cool with replacing them. Jahan and I both, right? We talked about this the other day.
We did. We talked about it a little bit.
Saints Row 1 was kind of like a GTA clone, except that there were even more inappropriate things around the world. And then Saints Row 2, I feel like they had really hit their stride where they got into this more colorful world with a little bit more crazy lore.
Saints Row 2 is where they really found themselves.
Yeah, they had like the Luchador gang and like the Voodoo gang. There was like the military technology gang, right?
Yeah.
The smart, yeah. So it was really kind of themey and fun and outlandish. And by the time they got to Saints Row 3, they went like full, literally, gimps pulling a carriage down the street that you have to chase while you're using a dildo bat.
Yep.
Yep. It's like they were going too far.
Full ridiculous.
Yeah, Saints Row 3 they went
ridiculous, silly.
And then Saints Row 4 they completely lost the mission.
Saints Row 4 they literally added superpowers to the series. Like same, I think it was literally the same map from Saints 3.
Did I buy it? Yes. Did I play it? Yes. Did I have a blast? Yeah, sure. It's not that good.
It was not a Saints Row game. It was like a bad version of Crackdown, which has only gotten worse with time as well.
And so there's been a lot of
Same
backlash
creators.
since they showed this new game. This new Saints Row game takes place in like California, I think, Nevada, around there, and it's a complete. They starting from the ground up. It's up and comers again. You know, they're hungry again. It's new again. The only way they could have done another game, like what would be next? It would have been a God Simulator or something. You know what I mean? Like they ran out of room.
The last
They're
one
bringing
that
it
they
back
had
down.
was Gat Out of Hell, which was a Johnny Gat story about how he died and went to hell, and it was a musical adventure Johnny Gat game. It wasn't a Saints Row game. It was just something so they like pushing the envelope, and they got well past fucking stupid a long time before that, and it was fucking stupid.
Yeah, it got. I'm a huge fan of the series all the way through. I enjoyed all the games. I bought them all. Played most of them day one, and this seems like my favorite is definitely Saints Row 2, and this seems to be bringing us back to that 2-3 sweet spot.
I think that is an insane claim to make, since we haven't seen any gameplay yet. All we've seen is cinematic.
Have seen gameplay.
Oh man, look at this guy's got.
I did some research.
He's got some hookups, some backline hookups.
I just went on YouTube. Some stuff got shown, and it looks like 2 and 3. It looks mostly like 3. The gameplay. I saw.
Yeah, I had seen an article because there's, I think, like actually this write-up I'm looking at. They say it does away with the shark jumping insanity found in the series' latter games. Okay,
there you
looks
go.
like it
Yeah.
the silliness while being grounded that's more true to the original 2 games. But I thought I saw a headline maybe from IGN, or maybe it may have even been a tweet that was saying the gameplay was going to be more rooted in like what 3 was. So maybe less. So my takeaway from all of that information is should be good gameplay, maybe less humor, silliness than what was in 3, but still having just enough to make it feel different from like a GTA game and more like a Saints Row game.
So I think there's a good chance that I will buy this game the day it comes out at full price.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, no, this is one. So Saints Row, yeah, it's one of those franchises. I love it. I love Saints Row. I like Saints Row better than Grand Theft Auto.
I do not, but I come from. I literally I had a PlayStation, the original gray PlayStation, and I bought Grand Theft Auto 2 on like a discount bin for like $7, and it was a top-down pixel game, like a 32-bit pixel, and I loved that game.
It was
I
cool.
went and bought the first one, and then I went and bought GTA London. I had all of those games for original PlayStation, and when GTA 3 was announced for PlayStation 2. I lost my fucking mind at the time, and I don't know, Drew. You knew me then. It was like junior high, and
I was aware of the GTA games at that point because of you. Because I did not have a PlayStation originally. I had an N64, but I first played GTA 1 and 2 at your house because you had them, and I don't know if I would have been as aware of them without that.
Yeah, I was. So I've been a GTA fan, like old GTA fan, and I will always like GTA more. And to me, it's a clone. Saints Row is a GTA clone, and it's the best one that exists.
So, yeah,
It's unashamedly a GTA clone. Like,
Definitely.
they scream it from the mountaintops. They're fine with that. They want you to know that because they want you to play it.
yeah, but they definitely have a lot of stuff that's their own. And yeah, I definitely like it more than Grand Theft Auto. That being said, Grand Theft Auto Online, I mean, you can't really touch that. But
Let's see if there's a Saints Row online and meet back in 20.
dude, that would be insane.
That would. I'm looking forward to the possibility.
So it sounds like Fresh Out the Box agrees. We're looking forward to this one.
Yeah, Saints Row.
For sure.
I'm certified excited. I don't know if it's certified fresh.
I want to mention, as far as being certified excited, I love me some Lego games, and they showed some more of Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
Oh,
which has been
boy.
delayed a few times. It's supposed to come out in spring 2022, but it collects all 9 of the Skywalker Saga Star Wars movies in one Lego game. I'll be all about it, playing all those different characters.
Do you want to talk about Lego Masters since you brought up Legos? Because I want to talk about Lego Masters since you brought up Lego.
You know what? Let's hold it for now. Let's get through some Gamescom stuff, because with Lego Star Wars, that's all I gotta say about it. We'll save it for your fresh takes, because I know you're a big Lego Masters guy, and I don't want it to get
Yeah.
buried in the Gamescom.
I'm a big Lego Masters guy. How did you know?
Oh, I know. And last episode we talked about Death Stranding a little bit, and I mentioned the director's cut that that's included here in some of their announcements. Call of Duty Vanguard. I don't know if that's something that y'all have any interest in from the Call of Duty front.
I do not like Call of Duty.
So I like Call of Duty as much as I like sports games. I like to play a Madden game every 7 or 8 years or so. And I like to play a Call of Duty game every 7 or 8 years or so. I don't think the genre moves fast enough for me to be invested in the entire Call of Duty discography, as it are, the gameography. I know that they get a lot of shit for having a really horrible, toxic fan base of over masculine type of guys. But also, it's a fun first-person shooter tactical game, and there's not a lot of first-person shooters that are doing it as well as Call of Duty right now. It's simple stuff that we've always wanted, like shooting through wooden surfaces and not being able to shoot through stone, cover versus concealment. There are just things that Call of Duty does right that feel good. And so I'll wait a few years. I'll get another one. I like squad-based games. I like teams, teamwork, and all that business.
So there's another game that was announced called Dokev, I think is how you say it, which I think this is what I wanted to talk about.
Man, so like not much is known about this yet. This was just this game came out of nowhere, and it just kind of stole the show. People were talking about it. People were talking about it everywhere, and I've heard it described as Ghostbusters meets Pokemon with like a sprinkling of Monster Hunter. Supposedly it's multiplayer. You can go around this gigantic city with your friends, and you go and battle these monsters in kind of like Monster Hunter style combat. And you can capture them and fight with them. It looks insane, and it is quite possibly. Huh?
I said, "What the fuck? That sounds awesome,
dude!" It was.
I'm watching clips of it right now. It looks pretty fun, and some of the gameplay and maneuvering around the city kind of reminds me of Sunset Overdrive. If y'all ever played that on Xbox, that's what except it looks cheap because the characters look like kids, so it looks a little bit more silly. But that's what the gameplay, and there's vehicles, cars, jet skis, all kinds of stuff that I've seen just in this video that I'm watching.
Yeah, no, it looks so good, and like this is what I was talking about, where we're starting to see these next gen titles that look next gen. This game looks clean. The graphics are beautiful. They're not going for hyper realism. It's very cartoony, but at the same time, it looks. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game.
There's a lot going on in any given frame of this
game,
judging from what I'm looking at.
I want to play this game right now, and I never want to stop because I'm a huge fan of Pokemon, Monster Hunter, and Ghostbusters. So I'm in all the way on this, and I believe it's from a Korean company. So, good for you.
Does not look like there's a release date or anything at this time.
No, this was just this was one of those out of nowhere. No one had heard anything about it. Just boom, look at this. And I've been looking.
From a studio called Pearl Abyss. Never heard of them. So we'll see.
I expect big things. If they live up to the hype I'm building up in my own head, this will be one of the best games ever.
And then we got let's see, Halo Infinite. Of course, they were not on Microsoft's stream, but they were as part of the opening night ceremony. And I believe a couple episodes ago when we talked about Halo co-op, I wrongly stated I thought that that Halo Infinite would be releasing in November, and I was wrong. We got an official release date. It is coming out December 8th is when Halo Infinite will be on Xbox Game Pass and in stores. So there you go.
I have a question, Drew, and you're probably right because you probably did research, but I noticed that when I was going through the Xbox store and looking at the dates, that it said that was Halo Infinite multiplayer comes out December 8th. And it literally showed a different cover. And so I don't know if they're doing something like Call of Duty, where they have a multiplayer download and a single player download, or if the single player comes out before. I don't know if you could clear that up.
So I believe. Okay, so I don't know this off the top of my head, and just because we're live, I'm not gonna do all the research. But I believe, as we know, all the Xbox Game Studios games come to Game Pass day one. But I believe Halo Infinite multiplayer is free to play even if you do not have Game Pass. So
That's
I believe
cool.
I believe, if I have my facts right, Halo Infinite is free to play if you have an Xbox. Just like Splitgate, that we played, or Fortnite, or any of those, I believe Halo Infinite multiplayer is free to play. I'm assuming if you have Game Pass, there will be additional perks and such affiliated with that. Of course, the single player is part of the full game experience, which you would have to purchase or be a Game Pass subscriber. So I believe that's why you're seeing a separate entry for Halo Infinite multiplayer, because it will be its own platform that is free to play.
And so that is exactly what the Call of Duty Warzone is Call of Duty you have to buy, and you have to play it if you're going to play the PTSD inspiring campaign. And if the multiplayer, like the squad-based stuff, the planning the bomb and getting the zones, all that stuff is part of the paid Call of Duty. But Warzone is their 64-person drop-in battle royale open world map, and that one's free to play, and it's a different download. And it really kind of annoyed the shit out of me because it's huge. It's like 100 gigs, and you have to have it installed if you want to play the regular stuff in the regular game, because it's now part of the game. And so, I didn't want to play that, right? I just want to play hardcore search and destroy, but now 100 gigs of my Xbox are stored up because of this Verdansk crap that I don't want to mess with. So I hope, I don't know. That is kind of, the same type of thing going on here. It looks like, I hope that we're not stuck to, I'm going to play the multiplayer anyways, right? It's Halo. So yeah. I don't mind being stuck to having to download the multiplayer. But there may be a point where I uninstall the campaign half of the game after I've beaten the co-op a few times. If that's, if it lets me. That's kind of my point.
It's kind of cool.
So I am looking at the Halo Infinite website. So this is like the Xbox website, Halo Infinite page, and it does say here, Halo celebrated multiplayer returns, reimagined and free to play. So there you go. Now it does say, of course, get Halo Infinite the same day it's released if you have Game Pass. I'm assuming that's referring to the campaign and so on and so forth. I'm not sure if they've really announced what features will be limited to the retail release / Game Pass release compared to just the free-to-play multiplayer. But they're doing, like you see in Fortnite, like you see in Call of Duty, any of the very popular multiplayer games now, it's going to have seasonal updates. So there will be seasons, so you can buy into the season pass, get updates. I believe one of the things I had...
The new formula.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I had read that I thought was really cool about Halo Infinite's multiplayer compared to something like Call of Duty is that these seasons, so they will have, unlockables like cosmetics and things like that for your Spartans that'll be tied to certain seasons, but every season will be available. So for example, if they're on season 3 is the current season of Halo Infinite multiplayer, but there's a cosmetic that you really want that's from season 1, you can go and buy the season 1 pass and go earn that cosmetic you want. Whereas in Call of Duty, once you're on to the next season, the past seasons are no longer available. They're done. You know, they're tied to those old ones.
There's this big wave of FOMO going through video games right now, fear of missing out, and Nintendo is guilty of it, and Microsoft is guilty of it, where they put these sales on their shop where you either buy it and you get it, or you don't, and you'll never have that opportunity again. And I've always felt that way about, you know, in League of Legends. That's how it was when a skin came out. You could buy this Christmas skin, and you had like 3 or 4 weeks to do it, and then it was going to be put in the vault, and it might come back out next year, but you probably wouldn't see it for 3 or 4 years. And that is sort of a predatory practice, right? Because you want to buy it, but that's also how anything works. Like, that's how it works at fast food restaurants. They have this limited time item. You go and buy it right now. Or when there's a sale at a store. You know, we have a sale this weekend. You come and buy this shit right now. It won't be here next season. So I actually kind of, I can't believe I'm saying this, I kind of liked in Sea of Thieves these timed events where if you didn't go and do the work and get the skin, you didn't have it. And I like that in Halo. If you're a day 1 player, you're going to get the day 1 badge and the season 1 armor. That's cool to me. That's something that you have earned as a longtime player, not something that someone who bought the game today should be able to get by next week. I see what they're doing. It's anti-FOMO, which I like, but I also, just in this particular circumstance, I don't like it. I kind of want my collector shit. You know what I mean?
I do like it's cool having stuff that other people can't get because you put in the work. Like, it's cool. It makes you feel special. You're like, hey, that guy's wearing that season 1 helmet. They must have been playing a long time. Like, you know, I don't know. I actually do. It can be predatory, but I definitely, especially in the case where it's something you have to do quests and you don't spend money on, I feel like that's great. When it comes to spending money on exclusives, it's less great, but, you know, God knows how much money I spend on League of Legends. And I love Christmas skins, so it is what it is.
I'll have to link you to a website later. There's one that you can type in your account name on, and it can tell you exactly how much money you spent.
I don't know if I want to know.
Ever since I did that, I have never considered buying another skin in another freemium game. League of Legends really took advantage of me in my 20s and my wallet. The way that Drew bought comic books in his 20s is the way that I bought League skins.
Like a boss?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's Halo. I mean, I'm gonna play it. So
the next big game, and I know you had this on your list as well.
Oh my God, is it time?
Marvel's Midnight Suns. Is that what you've been waiting for?
I cannot. There's no game. I will say flat out right now, immediately, the first thing I'm going to say is I am not excited for any game half as much as I'm excited for this game. This game was made for me. like this game. So it's brought to you by Firaxis. Firaxis makes two of my
XCOM guy, right?
Yeah. Two of my all-time favorite.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, two of my favorite franchises, XCOM and Civilization. I love XCOM. XCOM is my all-time favorite franchise, probably, I'd say. And they're making this game. I've seen gameplay footage. I am, like, my blood is on fire right now. I need this game. I don't know how you feel about Midnight Suns. I don't know that much about them. I'm mostly aware of them because of the set bonus you can get for equipping them in games like Ultimate Alliance. But I've always loved the magical side of any mythology. So like DC, Marvel, I love the magic characters. And the characters in this are some of my all-time favorite. I can't wait to play as Blade, Magic, Doctor Strange. It's Ghost Rider. It's gonna be great.
There's also a create a character thing, right?
Yeah, you can create a character. What was that, Drew?
Is this next gen only?
I'm not sure. I hope not. I'll get it on PC if I have to.
I'm looking at the gameplay now. It looks smooth.
But yeah, Gary, you are right. So that's one of the big things that you can never do in Marvel properties. You get to make a custom character. Supposedly, that's my understanding. And so you get, I assume you get to pick power sets and stuff like that, and you get to make a Marvel character that gets to fight alongside the Midnight Suns. And like, dude, so I already got my team picked out. I'm ready. Like, I'm so excited. So I saw gameplay. It's a tactics game. It's a squad-based tactic game. You get to pick your cadre of heroes, and you set them in this turn-based strategy game. And there is a deck mechanic. So, like, you have a deck of ability cards. I assume you can customize and manipulate during gameplay. And, man, I saw one thing. I saw Wolverine, like, aim specifically in such a way that when he punched a guy, he flew into like this exploding barrel and exploded. And like the physics were great. The angle of movement that you could aim people was crazy. And it was just I'm so excited.
It looks good. I answered my own question. It is not next gen only, so this will be available on Xbox One as well as the Series consoles and PS4 and PS5.
You're looking at some facts about the game right now. It's not going to be multiplayer, is it?
No. There's no way.
It doesn't look like a multiplayer experience. And if so, it looks like it would be versus. I'm just based on what I've seen. It does look fun, and I'm going to play it, but I'm always looking for a co-op version of XCOM, and I can never find a co-op version of XCOM.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Marvel's doing cool stuff with their games because they've, just been letting different studios kind of take certain IP or certain characters and do their own thing. And I think they're being careful about it, but also letting studios get creative. Like, you've got this Midnight Suns. Obviously, you have the Crystal Dynamics game that was more, kind of a like a Destiny style, third person, the Avengers game that came out. The mixed success, because there are some
play that game.
I did too.
Right now it's $40. I was just looked it up last night. Actually, if I can catch that game on sale for $20, I'm gonna pick it up, because I think walking around as the Hulk and smashing shit for like an hour would be worth $20 of fun, and I think I would play that game a lot longer than an hour.
And then of course you've got the Insomniac Spider-Man game too. Games, I should say, because they have the Miles Morales.
Spider-Man games have always been fire. Always. I can actually see my red Spider-Man N64 cartridge from where I'm sitting. But I just read something about Midnight Suns. The character that you are, players will be able to choose the hunter's superpowers from over 40 different abilities. And you could be male or female, customized in appearance. So, like, yeah, fully customizable. 40 different superpowers for your character, man. I need a paper bag. Like, I'm too excited.
For the sake of time here, I'll drill through a few of the other, because now you're getting into Microsoft show in particular. So if there's any of these that you want to talk about in more detail, let me know. But we got Dying Light 2, Age of Empires 4, Forza Horizon 5, The Gunk, more Microsoft Flight Simulator stuff, Humble Games, which are, I think, just some independent games coming to Game Pass. We've got, let's see, I think those were some of the big things from Microsoft show.
Yeah, Humble. If it's Humble Bundle, Humble Games makes really good games. They made Slay the Spire, so they make really good indie stuff.
I was gonna talk about Forza Horizon 5. I was gonna say the date on that one is November 8th. That's one that's gonna be free on Game Pass day one. I like the Forza Horizon series. Forza itself is kind of a racing simulator in the form of like Gran Turismo, but Forza Horizon is much more arcadey. It has a lot of off-road racing, a wide open map. It's like, it's wide open in England, and there's castles and big ramps and stuff. It's a lot more fun in the series, and so I'm looking forward. I put some time into the fourth one, and I'm looking forward to the fifth one again.
I am actually excited for a couple of these. I hadn't heard of Moonglow Bay till just now. That sounds fun. You have to trade with frog people in an adorable world to fulfill missions. That sounds awesome. But also, so two of these were on my radar. So the Gunk, I haven't heard anything about that either. That looks cool. That looks really
Seems
cool.
like the type of game that I'll like. I think it's a single player game where you clean stuff. That's all. That's a game that I'll, for whatever reason, get every achievement in. And...
I love Super Mario Sunshine. It is my favorite Super Mario game. Hands down, it's my favorite Mario game, and then Double Dash is number 2 of any Mario games. So I'm with you on the game where I clean up gunk, bro. I'm there.
This game looks pretty. And it was very well received. So Age of Empires 4, I am excited for. I've definitely, in my strategy tastes, I have steered back towards turn-based as my favorite. It'll be fun to dive into a RTS again. This game will be available day one on Xbox Game Pass for PC. Just FYI. And so I'm definitely going to be playing that. And
what game was that, John?
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires. Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about the newest one. I'm curious though.
It looks good. It looks really good.
I
But it is still a
definitely
real time strategy game. So if that's doesn't float your boat, this won't either. And then Gary, this one should excite you. Dying Light 2. The original Dying Light game is co-op online. And so I'm pretty sure this one will be too. And that game looks sick.
I've never played a Dying Light game.
We might have to do that sometime. But yeah, so that's what I think about those.
What is
I
Cult of
have
the Lamb?
Back for Blood on my list.
Ooh.
Back for Blood is coming out October 12th. And that will be free on Game Pass, even though it's not an Xbox original.
Yes. Yeah, it's
So
very
that's
exciting.
That's cool. And Jahan and I played the beta for Back for Blood. And it was really fun. And then we played the zombie versus mode, and we beat the other people into a pulp, straight into oblivion. So like they quit out within 30 seconds every time. They need to fix their matchmaking, but the game is fun, and we're looking forward to it.
They did quit out. So yeah, Cult of the Lamb it's a kind of a cute, kind of fucked up game from Devolver Digital, makers of such games as Enter the Gungeon and many other titles. But so you start your own cult in a land of false prophets, venturing out into diverse and mysterious regions to build a loyal community of woodland worshippers and spread your word to become the one true cult. And it looks fun. Anyone watch it, you can see a little video going on. It looks right up my alley. It looks like a mixture of cuteness and management, which I enjoy managing resources for whatever reason. And it's also definitely kind of that Enter the Gungeon hack and slash run around feel too. It's a little mixture. It looks so fun. I'm very excited. I play too many games, man. And as of now, no release date. It says 2022. So.
Perfect. And then I see you also was Jurassic World Evolution 2 a Gamescom game?
I don't know that it was. I saw it when I was going through Steam the other day, and so, and you can ask Gary about it. I told him, and I got way too excited and kind of started gushing a bit. So I love Jurassic Park. I love Jurassic Park. I love it. And then I played Jurassic World Evolution. It was cool. It was a little underwhelming in some ways, but they added two of the things that I desperately wanted in the first game: flying dinosaurs and water dinosaurs. So you can have like the SeaWorld experience now. You can have like
there weren't even water aquatic ones in the first game?
No, there weren't any
Surprising.
Yeah, there weren't any water ones, no flying ones. You couldn't have like the aviary, you couldn't have the SeaWorld experience, and that was kind of a letdown. A lot of the rest of the game was really fun. I played the shit out of it. I beat the shit out of it on Xbox. And I look forward to Jurassic World Evolution 2.
So there's still something wrong with my brain where I would like that game more if it was co-op, like if both people could place buildings and fences, and then whenever dinosaurs broke out, you went into like a third-person Jeep adventure where you had to chase them down and shoot them, trank them in the park, and take them back.
That's funny.
And then you went back to an RTS style.
You're kind of describing Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo right now. Because you kind of,
That's what I want out of a Jurassic Park game.
Fair.
But I feel like I'm not asking for too much. We just have some time to wait until there are titles like that.
Yeah.
It's like almost a Minecraft / Jurassic Park.
That could be cool.
I have another game, right? Limnus Gate. Finally, right? Finally fucking Limnus Gate. I think I've been talking about Limnus Gate since we started the channel because it was on Xbox Game Store so far before it came out. But September 28th is the release date. And it's supposed to be co-op. And it's a first-person, turn-based tactical shooter? I don't know what a first-person turn-based shooter is going to be like. But it's co-op and you can control and rewind time if you need to. So it sounds like it's going to be hard, and it sounds like it's going to be tactical, and it sounds like something that Jahan and I are going to play.
Yes, no, we're definitely playing the shit out of this.
Pretty sure I have this pre-installed because I think it was just on the Game Pass page of like, hey, pre-install me. I'm coming in September, like months ago. I said, yeah, pre-install. And I don't even know what it is other than what y'all have just told me right now. So that sounds interesting, though. I like turn-based games, but a turn-based first-person game sounds
unique,
intriguing.
Yeah, unique. There you go. And Hades. Hades has come.
I have played some Hades.
I have played some Hades.
Hades has come. Hades was Game of the Year last year. Is that right?
Very deserving.
And
I know that some of the big publications, like I think IGN gave it their Game of the Year, I guess in 2020. Is that when it came out?
Mm-hmm.
Originally, yeah. So I know this game has gotten a lot of love.
And when Hades came out, it was just a Switch game. And now Hades is out for PlayStation 4 and 5, and of course Xbox and Series X. And I think, is it out for PC now too? Did that happen?
I think so.
So now everyone else is finally getting their hands on Game of the Year. And so it's blowing up a second time all over again. It's getting tons of good hype. Drew apparently has been playing the crap out of it. I played some Hades, and I saw an interesting number. I've always wondered what Game Pass does to the market, because I love Game Pass. Jahan and I will say it until we die.
Game
it's
Pass
the best
is
value.
The best value in gaming that you can get right now.
It is, and 97% of the physical copies of Hades that have been bought are on PlayStation, because everyone on Xbox has it on Game Pass. It's 3% of the people bought it for a Microsoft platform. So, I guess people are getting Game Pass.
Considering the reputation that it had on Switch alone, I mean, coming out Game Pass day one, the same day it was released for Xbox and for PlayStation consoles, and being on Game Pass day one is a huge get for Microsoft. So props to them for whatever they did to get that on the service, because
they have
I probably would have paid money for that game based on reputation alone. I didn't want to play it on Switch. I'd rather play it on Xbox. So I mean, I could have bought it before, but with it coming to Xbox, I would have probably paid money for it by itself. But I got to play it on Game Pass day one.
And I can't even tell you how excited I am for Back 4 Blood. Like, I know we keep bringing it up, but that's another one of those huge gets to me, where it's not your game, but you've got it for us on day one, and we would have bought it. So, like, oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you.
Like, when when Game Pass first started, it was kind of like, they're coming out this and that, and like every now and again they'd have a good game, right? Like, lately they've just been dropping amazing content into Game Pass. And yeah, Hades is definitely one of those games. Hades is a masterpiece. The soundtrack alone is so good. Like, me and Jenny jam it out when we play board games, and it's just so fun.
Yeah, just to talk more on Hades. I mean, I'm not typically one that will put a lot of time into these kind of roguelike games that require multiple runs. But something about Hades and just how good the combat felt, and it's one of those games that it's just accessible enough that you can play it and think like, oh, I'll get better, and the upgrades that you get that make you better, like it makes the runs very very satisfying for someone like me that usually doesn't play those kinds of games. So if this isn't a genre that typically appeals to you, this is the game that I think could be, could kind of open that door for you.
Yeah, I played the shit out of it. My girlfriend played the shit out of it. My older brother, who is recently getting back into video games because of his husband, he loves this game, and he beat the shit out of it as well. And so, like, you don't have to be a hardcore gamer to like this game. This game has a lot to offer. Like Drew said, every playthrough feels satisfying, and it doesn't. When you die, like, it propels the story forward. Like, you come back to the home base, everybody has new things to say. Like, it's so well done.
Even the curmudgeon of the three, I'll say that Hades is certified fresh. I haven't put as much time into Hades as I have into other roguelikes. I'm still a Monster Train boy. I will probably be a Monster Train boy until there's a Monster Train 2. But I can give
Monster
you the
Train
big...
2, Monster Plane.
I can give it a big... Hades is certified fresh out the box for me.
I agree.
So so just to be clear, let's can we go ahead and kind of tie a bow on Gamescom discussion? Like, we're pretty much we covered everything from the show that we
there
really
was
wanted to
only
talk about.
one more. There's only
What was
one
the
more.
other thing, John?
So we don't have to talk about it too much, but finally we got to see some Elden Ring footage. And oh my god, so it looks like Dark Souls meets Breath of the Wild. You have a mount that you can summon that can go up cliffs. They have like open world instance, like they have people going around that you have to go challenge the fights. They boast that there are so many ways to do every mission. And if you don't know anything about Elden Ring, this is a game that story was written originally for this game by George R.R. Martin. And so, like, that, when I heard that, I was just like, what's it going to be like? And this looks very fun.
Perfect. So that's Elden Ring, and that's Gamescom. We will move into we've kind of already been doing it, but our certified fresh takes, because a lot of our takes were video game related that tied into Gamescom. Garrett, we just talked about Hades, which was obviously certified fresh by all of us. I haven't talked about any games. I'm usually talking about so many different movies and stuff, but for games, I actually have a couple things I've been playing here recently that I do want to touch on. One of these, actually, it's a little delayed, but it is what it is. Back at the end of August, when they announced the games that were leaving Game Pass at the end of August, there was a Blair Witch game that I'd had downloaded for a long time. Ever since it first came out on Game Pass, that I had been wanting to play, and when they announced that it was leaving, I kind of played through it real quick before it left Game Pass, just so I could play it, because I like spooky walking sim type games like that tell a story. Ooh. And Blair Witch was okay. You can't play it now through Game Pass; it's not on there anymore. So sorry, you can still buy it on the Microsoft Store, but it's okay. It's just tied into the Blair Witch lore movies and stuff, but told its own story.
Is this Blair Witch Evil Hides in the Woods?
I don't know if it had that subtitle.
Because there's one that's out now. It says Blair Witch Evil Hides in the Woods, and it says it has VR. I don't know if.
So this was not a VR game.
Okay. Because this game looks cool.
But this was developed by Bloober Team. I would say the most interesting. So in the game, you have a dog companion that can seek out stuff that plays a big part in helping you navigate, because the game's very dark. You're in the woods, so it's easy to get confused, so your dog really helps to lead you along. I will say the coolest thing about it, of the gameplay stuff that I liked, is you have a video camera, which makes sense because Blair Witch and the movies and how they're set up. But one of the things is you find tapes throughout the game that you put into your video game camera that you can view. And sometimes when you're looking through the viewfinder of the camera, you can pause the video and it will affect things in the real world. So for example, you might come to a house and find a tape, and the tape shows a video of that house, but in the tape there's a second or two where the door to the house is open. So like you could be looking through the video camera, pause it when the door is open, and then when you put the video camera away, that door will now be open in real life, and you can go through it. So I liked
really cool.
that. I liked that part of the game. There's a few cool moments like that, but otherwise, it's kind of a slow game. I say that it takes about 6 hours to beat it, but the pacing of it, even still, for the story, is a little slow, and it was okay, kind of janky, but I did play that. Worth noting. I also just played the crap out of Psychonauts 2, which was just released in late August on Game Pass, and this is a sequel to Psychonauts, which the original Psychonauts came out, I think, over 15 years ago. This is a sequel that's been asked for by fans for that long, and now it's finally here. It's actually out on both Xbox and PlayStation because it had been announced for both consoles before Microsoft acquired Double Fine, because Double Fine is now an Xbox game studio. But the agreement for it to be on both consoles was before. But of course, Xbox gamers get it on Game Pass. And I love this game, man. It's just super creative and funny, and the whole premise deals a lot around the Psychonauts. They're basically agents that they can jump into people's brains and figure out things that are wrong with them and such. And the brains are very crazy themed worlds for platforming that have a cool look. But so all your powers are psychic powers, and you go into all these different brain worlds, and it's very fun. I did play it kind of obsessively after it came out, and I have beat it at this time, but really enjoyed it. It's a single player platforming game, so if that's your thing, go for it. I know that's not usually your jam, Gary, but I loved it.
It's not my jam. It sounds cool. It gives me like Banjo-Kazooie vibes with the cool, crazy worlds and the different powers and stuff, just from your description.
I definitely intend to play it.
Yeah, the intro level of this game, for example, you're in the mind of this kind of crazy dentist character. So imagine the world is all tooth themed. So that, like crazy teeth and tongues, and it's weird. And if you have any kind of... Actually, I think the game has a warning at the beginning if you have like whatever the proper term is for basically a dental phobia, because there are people that have issues with teeth and those visuals, and the whole first level is themed around that. So if that irks you, then it wouldn't be the game for you.
Oh no,
I'm trying to think of some of the other themes. Are you seeing some images from it now?
I looked up teeth phobia while
probably don't need to do that.
While on Google Image. I almost threw up. It's called dentophobia.
Dentophobia. There you go. So maybe don't Google search that one, because you might see things.
Forever
if you don't
changed.
have dentophobia, you might have it after looking at those images.
I need a psycho not to help me. Now.
You need a psycho not look up, be the fear of teeth. Dentophobia.
But there's,
we've actually played a tabletop game before with somebody who, that was their line, that was their veil, is they said no teeth. We were playing a horror game, and that was all good and fine, but without a focus on teeth.
And then I will also say, so moving on from video games, and of course we can't get through a show without me talking about some movies. And um, at the time that this podcast comes out, last week is when Shang-Chi came out in theaters. I didn't want to talk about it too much then because it was the Saturday after it had come out exclusively in theaters, not on streaming anywhere. So I knew a lot of people probably hadn't seen it. I'm sure a lot more people at this point, if they want to see it, will have seen it. Maybe. It looks like it was at the time we were recording this. It seemed like it was going to be doing pretty good at the box office. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes, because obviously due to the current state of the pandemic, the box office has been taking a hit once again. We just saw some delays from Paramount. Top Gun was supposed to come out around Thanksgiving. It's moved to next summer. Moved again. And Jackass 4 is supposed to come out in October. It's moved to February now. So
Jackass 4 to me seems like one of those ones they could release on HBO Max. I don't need to go to the theatrical experience that is Jackass 4. Just fucking release your prank show.
So that's actually, it's a Paramount movie. So talk about getting your subscribers, because Paramount Plus, they've rebranded, and it's, they don't have that many exclusive movies or anything on there yet that are exclusive to that. So put Jackass 4 on Paramount Plus. People will subscribe for that. I think you'd be surprised.
I will subscribe for it. I won't pay for it. I'll do the 1-week trial and watch it and quit. But if there's anything else on there that catches my attention, well, maybe I'll stay.
It sounds like you need to watch Yellowstone.
Oh, that reminds me, Drew. That reminds me of the Orville and Disney Plus.
Yeah, we were talking about that in chat recently.
I wanted to pick your brain on it because I've been thinking about it all day. So the Orville, to me, I thought would be like a Hulu flagship show or like an FX show to keep people watching over there. Mm-hmm. And it's strange to me that it's going to be on Disney Plus.
That is weird.
And the only reason I can think is that they want to show that they want to put that show in front of a different demographic. And they thought that Disney Plus's demographic was going to be kids. We all thought it was going to be kids, except Loki wasn't really for kids, right? It wasn't not for kids, but it's aimed towards our age demographic. And WandaVision, I think, is aimed towards 20-somethings. And the Orville, I think, is the same demographic. I think it's the same people. And so my theory is they're just trying to get it in front of a different group of people who didn't even know that they wanted to watch it. What do you think, Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to hear the pitch meeting for why they decided, of Disney, who right now has majority stake with Hulu, and and FX is a Hulu. They put a lot of their shows on Hulu. It's all kind of under the Disney umbrella. But I'd be interested to hear their behind the scenes reasoning for Disney Plus in particular on this, just because all your Star Wars content is on Disney Plus, and the Orville is kind of more Star Trek based, right? Like it's kind of more not spoofing, because it does take itself seriously.
So I think absolutely, as Seth MacFarlane would even tell you, that it is absolutely Star Trek based, and yeah, it's a comedy show, sure, and it's not a spoof show. It's really good, and I've seen every episode. The show actually pushes a lot of good moral values and a pretty decent political agenda. As far as TV shows that are political, that one is one.
They do some gender identity stuff that's really good. Yeah,
I agree with a lot of the values that show is pushing. So I like the show. I like Seth MacFarlane. I like a lot of his work, not all of it. That's one that I think Orville might be his best work.
That's possible. It is really good.
Yeah, I'll have to catch the Orville. I haven't watched it yet, and I've heard good things. So I will.
It should be good for you.
Yeah, if you like any of Seth MacFarlane's work, I think Orville is the best of all of it. And I like Family Guy enough, you know. I think Family Guy was probably his best work before that. I didn't care for A Million Ways to Die in the West or American Dad, but Orville's very good.
I actually liked A Thousand Ways to Die in the West.
And then, so actually bringing it full circle with Disney Plus. So back to Shang-Chi for a second. So obviously, I honestly thought that with the pandemic and the current state of where we are, that they were going to pivot, because they had been saying, after Black Widow and Jungle Cruise were on Disney Plus Premier Access, as well as being in theaters, Shang-Chi was going to be in theaters exclusively, right? But with a 45-day theatrical window. So I think either via Premier Access or just available to rent, on iTunes, whatever, in 45 days, that should be available. But otherwise, it is exclusively in theaters. I thought with the Delta variant and everything, they were going to pivot and at the last minute put it on Disney Plus Premier Access. They did not.
It might have something to do with the Black Widow lawsuit from Scarlett Johansson. Maybe their legal team advised against it or something.
Possibly so. All I'll say about Shang-Chi, because I don't want to spoil anything, it's too early, but I really enjoyed it. Actually, a lot more than I expected to, which is what I said about Black Widow, ironically. But I liked this more than I liked Black Widow, so I'll put it that way. I thought this was better. It's one of the better Marvel origin story movies, I think. It does a great job in its genre and all of the the kung fu movies and styles that it takes inspiration from. Tony Leung, who's obviously an absolute legend, is in this movie as the father and main villain character. He's just excellent. I mean, he kills it. Every scene that he's on demands attention. But Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi, super charismatic, very fun. All I'll say is that I think he's gonna fit into the MCU a lot more seamlessly than I expected. I didn't really know, and after seeing it, I'm like, okay, I get it. This is pretty cool. So
hell yeah.
I'll be excited for. I know I'm the only one of us that has seen this so far,
Yeah.
but maybe once y'all catch it, we can do a more in-depth spoiler discussion, because it's definitely one that I'll want to talk about more. I feel like
I'm excited to do that. Yeah.
I'm the only of my friends at this point that has gone out to a theater to see it, so haven't had anybody to talk about it with yet. So I'll be excited for y'all to see it so we can chat about it.
Maybe I can go to like an early showing Tuesday or something. Did you guys see the short on Disney Plus with the Mandarin?
I did. I know that it had been released, I think, on the Iron Man 3 Blu-ray. They were doing those Marvel one-shots on some of the Blu-ray releases, I think is where they came out. So this was the first time that this clip had been put on Disney Plus, even though I know it had come out a few years ago.
I hadn't seen it before this. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I believe it's called Hail to the King.
Something like that. Yeah, Gary, you should check it out. It's pretty cool.
It actually, I would say that if you're planning to see Shang-Chi, this should be required viewing for you to see.
That makes
before.
sense. Yeah. I feel like it probably definitely. I like how early they set this up, man. They have that foresight, Marvel. The soothsayers.
Kevin Feige lives in like a web of strings that connect storylines. I can't imagine that guy's office looks remotely sane. There has to be so many timelines he keeps track of, and so many Easter eggs that he okays. He truly has the foresight that makes the Marvel universe so great.
So this was part of the Thor: The Dark World Blu-ray.
Gotcha. Wow, that was a long time ago.
It just bridges. It features Trevor Slattery, which is Ben Kingsley's character from Iron Man 3, who obviously had taken the name the Mandarin in that film, but was just an actor, playing a role, when really it was Aldrich Killian was the main villain of that movie. Well, I think I can spoil it at this point.
You can spoil
in
that,
just this
yeah, no
little,
problem.
this little one shot. Basically, he's in prison. Trevor Slattery's in prison and is visited by some enforcers of the real Mandarin, who is mad that Trevor Slattery had taken on the Mandarin name, or had used that name, and so and the 10 rings connected with it. So it is actually a pretty good lead into Shang-Chi, because it alludes to the fact that there is a real Mandarin out there, and that is the villain of Shang-Chi. So
There's always a real Mandarin out there. That's the Mandarin. He's planned ahead. He's not just 10 steps ahead. He's 10,000 steps ahead.
He's 10 rings ahead.
I have been watching Lego Masters, and particularly, I have been watching Lego Masters UK and Lego Masters Australia.
What?
Because I had to span out my Lego Master knowledge.
So you've become such a Lego Masters head that you've sought out Lego Masters from other countries. Am I getting this right?
That's correct. I have
Hey, I
now
dig
watched every season of Lego Masters ever made in every country that has ever.
What a
had.
legend!
I didn't
What a
know that there
legend this
were
guy
other
is.
country versions.
Let me tell you, the Australian Lego Masters is better. It's better than the American one, even though it has a less production value, and the UK one is probably the worst one. I think that was the pilot version where they were seeing if they could make a show. And so they picked all their contestants from a big Lego convention instead of having, a huge variety of people to choose from. And then, it's also kids versus adults in that UK season. And so there's kind of a strange dynamic in that show where they haven't quite figured out their stride yet. Lego Masters Australia? I don't know what it is about that show. Since it's a less production value, there's actually more focus on the building and less production on stupid fucking Will Arnett bits and jokes and cutaways and CG. And it's just all about the Lego, man. And people there in Australia are not Americans. So they're friendlier to watch, and they're just the camaraderie there is so much better. Their host is more personable. It's good. And then I went back and watched the new episodes of Lego Masters. I'm all caught up with Will Arnett and his bullshit.
I got some catching up to do. I also love Lego Masters.
So Gary is the Lego Masters master.
It
Lego
seems.
Masters is certified fresh out the box.
I mean, what a cool concept. I've always loved Legos so much.
And also on Hulu, I've been watching Lego Masters on Hulu. Also on Hulu is still Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Reservation Dogs. I'm still watching both of those. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is still doing those double episode releases. They're still moving their plot forward. They're driving these characters towards a beautiful ending. I can't wait. I'm just not sure a single one of them is going to be at the precinct by the end.
Yeah.
I actually watched the first episode of Reservation Dogs.
What did you think?
I enjoyed it. So I actually, I just recently had a quick trip to Oklahoma to visit some friends there. I go every year around late August to do I've been in a fantasy football league with some friends there for about a decade now, and so every year I go up there in person and have my draft with them. And while I was there, they were talking Reservation Dogs. I knew that Gary had spoke highly of it recently. They're all about it, of course, because it takes place in Oklahoma, and this is the type of stuff that they have seen in person. And so they were actually caught up on it, but they were like, "Hey, you got to watch this first episode." And so I did. I watched it with them, and I enjoyed it. I need to watch more of it, I think, to see how much I really like it, which they have sung its praises. Gary, obviously you're still watching it, but the characters and stuff they really like. But I did watch the first episode. I enjoyed it, but I have not watched more yet.
I've seen the first 2 or 3, I think. I watched everything that was available when I watched it.
How are you feeling about it, John?
I loved it. It was great. It's so apparently it's one of the first shows ever to feature an all native cast and directing team. They got them on the writing board. Like, it's It's representation at its finest, and they're telling really good stories, very human stories, and it's I love slice of life. I love to see these shows or movies that really take you to this place, and it really does bring you and kind of show you what their lives are like, with some humor.
I know that I've told you guys, Jahan has seen it, of course. I've told you about Letterkenny and how this show reminds me of Letterkenny, how there's a vibe there that I can't quite put my finger on. Well, the most recent episode started with Tanis from Letterkenny, the actress that plays, she's a native in Letterkenny, and she plays a Native American in this, and she's like a shapeshifter who might be killing people, but it's all in Big's dreams. Big is the police chief in the town, or the sheriff that it kind of follows around. And it might be Big's like daydreams when he falls asleep, and maybe he saw like a skinwalker when he was a kid, because Big kind of believes in some of those old native legends. And so immediately when she was the first character on camera, I was like, fucking Tanis from Letterkenny. So even, there was something there for me, right? I couldn't put my finger on it. And now a character from one show is in the other. And I'm just like, I know it. I know that there's someone somewhere on that crew or production. They watch Letterkenny or they work together. It's those shows belong together. If you like one, I think you'll like the other.
I actually like Reservation Dogs more, I think.
And that's fine, but I still think that if you like one, you'd like the other.
I do also like Letterkenny, yeah.
Believe that in my heart. I think they're cut of the same cloth somehow. And they're both slice of life shows about, people who aren't Texans. So maybe that's why I like them.
Because you get to get out of here.
Maybe. For a few minutes in my mind.
I'll definitely watch more of Reservation Dogs.
That's all I have, man. I can recommend it. I say Reservation Dogs is certified fresh out the box. Brooklyn Nine-Nine still certified fresh.
There's before we sign off, there's one more movie I really want to sing the praises of that I just watched, and talking about the awards race. This is one of the ones that's already being thrown around in the best picture category for this year, that it could be ranked. It's really early to see. We have to see what other comes out, but this was kind of I think a Sundance darling from this year that actually got picked up by Apple TV Plus. But it's called Coda, 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 which actually has a double meaning here. So Coda, if you know music terms, is the term for, I think, like kind of the ending portion of a musical piece that's kind of distinct from the main piece. So it's a musical term, but also it stands for I believe it's child of deaf adults, or children of deaf adults is another meaning for Coda. So the film Coda is about a high school aged girl who is the only member of her family who can hear. So her parents are deaf and her brother is deaf, and she has her hearing, and she has a passion for singing, and that's what she loves to do. And not only that, but she's really good at it. And which of course is difficult for her because her family can't hear her. So they have a difficult time understanding her passion and the dream that she wants to pursue, when the family really relies on her to be an interpreter for them, since they cannot hear, and with their community. It's definitely a very heartwarming drama when you watch it, the way that it plays out. But I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. This it definitely got to me. It made me feel the emotions. But I highly recommend it to anybody listening. But Coda, it is on Apple TV Plus, streaming exclusively there. So if you have if you're enjoying your Apple TV Plus for Ted Lasso, just go ahead and give Coda a stream too, because you already have access to it. Might as well watch it. But so far, this is one of the best movies I've seen this year.
High praise. No, it definitely sounds good. Sounds like the kind of thing I would be interested in watching.
There's a thing. Oh, go ahead, Gary.
I was gonna say you have made me watch Gorman, Psycho Gorman, and you have made me watch Pig. And so I'm gonna skip a recommendation from you. I'm just gonna skip one and then I'll come back. But I'm gonna skip one.
Hey, you're 2 for 2 with me, Brady. I'll definitely watch this one.
Yeah,
It's
you're
too
2
bad,
for
'cause
2
if I
with me
could go-
too.
If I could go back in time, knowing your tastes, I absolutely would have said you could skip Psycho Gorman. You could maybe skip Pig. This is the one that I think you would actually maybe enjoy. I like coming of age type movies in general anyway. So this, is already right there. There's a thing that happens in the film community that's pretty interesting with a movie like this. That's like they almost will criticize it for being too feel good, by the end of it. But that doesn't bug me at all, man. I just had good emotions watching this movie. I really enjoyed it, and of course the parents and brother are played by real deaf actors, so that's worth noting. So it's very authentic. The mother is played by Marlee Matlin, who's actually won an Oscar. Was the first deaf actress to win an Oscar, I believe, was the first.
Harley Matlin, I believe I've seen her in. She's been in Law and Order and lots of other stuff. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so she plays the mother in this, but yeah. So I highly recommend it. Definitely certified fresh from me. So I'd love if y'all watch it and want to give thoughts on it on a future show. Please do.
I might do that.
Otherwise, that's it from me.
Yeah, I think that's all we have for tonight. You good, Gary?
Yes, sir. Just tell everybody where to find us on social medias and such, everybody.
Yeah, you can follow me, Johananon, at RockFact on Twitter.
You can follow me at CasualtyCDG, and of course, Jahan and I are always doing tabletop role-playing stuff, board game stuff every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday on twitch.tv/Johananon. We also have a Facebook and a YouTube. We are always playing stuff that's not D&D, and it's nothing personal against D&D. It's just there's a lot of D&D streamers out there. In fact, we love D&D. We love D&D as much as anybody else, and when 6th edition comes out, we're going to play the crap out of that too. But look forward to a Dune tabletop game adventure coming up. Look forward to Modern Age. We have an Expanse game on Thursdays, and we are looking forward to an Avatar Last Airbender game at some point within the coming months. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, follow us and stick around and keep coming. Of course, if you're one of the podcast listeners and for some reason you want to tune in and see us talk when we're not doing anything, you can always come to twitch.tv/Johananon and catch us live recording and talking every other Saturday.
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on Twitter, at Drew's Blues on TikTok. And thank you all for listening to the 10th episode of Fresh Out the Podcast. And I have a hashtag. If you made it to the end of this episode, get ready. This one's a mouthful, but I like it. Hashtag Gary, the Lego Masters Master.
Just master.
So go ahead and tweet hashtag Gary, the Lego Masters Master at any of us and all of us on Twitter, and we will make sure to get back to you.
If you work with Fox and you work with the Lego Masters people, just let them know that I said that you can cut Will Arnett. He's costing your show too much money, and both of the actual Lego Masters from Denmark are better hosts for the show.
All right. I know that all the folks at Fox just heard that, and I think that's it from us from here at Fresh Out the Podcast. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
I hope I didn't just get Will Arnett fired.